I wrote it
Submit on the
myself.
list.
It's great.
Yes. I thought it was.
Scott has accused me of that for years.
Oh, the master plan.
Yeah.
That's next week, yeah.
Yeah,
One, the CIP was already here.
you got it there.
Yeah, I know. I might have been another meeting that was at.
Everybody's losing their mind today.
Said there's so many meetings lately. They're back to back.
Well, you should be getting close to the end, right? I'm off for good behavior.
It's only been 2 years.
Yeah, but look at the money you're making, right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's all you can do
it's
is look
incredible.
at it. All you can do is you look at it and give it to somebody else.
Time to retire now.
Yeah. It's like fire department retirement. That's another one you can retire on.
Yep, we work, recording.
It's fine.
Okay, it's fine. All right, let's call this meeting to order at 6:03 PM.
Mr. Chairman, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there were some additions to the agenda after it was initially posted. And that would include under other business, one old business A. I included in the latest invoice from our master plan consultant. And I also provided an overlay map for the board to take a look at. That includes the existing zoning map with an overlay of that potentially proposed land use map that we were talking about with the master plan update. So you guys can see the differences. So that was also added. Under 3, correspondence for the board's review, discussion action. B was case 4-21, which was for final road approval for the Chestnut Cove subdivision on Ridge Road. And unfortunately, I need to inform you that I'm still working on the planning review, the planner review and all of the research for that. It's pretty lengthy, it's complicated. And I don't feel comfortable rushing through it.
So that's off.
So I'm requesting that that's continued to the next planning board meeting, which is December 20th. Other items that have been added since I posted a revised agenda would be an invoice and a breakdown from the zoning consultant. So that's in there as well. And let's see. And I've provided the board under 4, I want to add 4B, which is an email dated November 11th, which is regarding a rewrite of HB 1021, which had to do with the religious facilities. And
Where did you plug that one in?
so that's under
4B.
4, yeah, 4B.
Okay.
And that's it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to accept the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Scott, a second by Bill. I do have a question regarding that case P 04-21. Do we need to vote on the continuance of that?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Should we just in case?
You don't need to.
Oh, okay.
okay, so any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, so next on the agenda is public hearing for the capital improvements program, CIP.
I think you have to appoint an alternate.
Do we? I think we have a full house.
So,
Brown
Mr.
is not here.
Doug
Oh,
Brown.
Mr. Brown, oh, you're right.
Yep.
Okay, so who's up for alternates?
Me.
Lee Hills Grove.
There's Leah.
Thumbs up.
Lee and Tom Divney.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, so Mark Manning's here again tonight. So he's our prospective alternate. So this is would be his second meeting.
If you bring Tom up as the alternate, Lee has to sit.
Yeah, Lee's gonna end up having to recuse, so let's appoint Tom as our alternate. Thank you. So public hearing on the CIP program.
Yes.
So I think I'm supposed to start off by reading the public notice. So notice is hereby given of a public hearing to consider the CIP plan of 2023 as proposed by the CIP committee to be held in the Alton Town Hall at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 at the planning board meeting. Copies of the plan of the 2023 will be available at the hearing on the town's website or can be picked up in draft form at the town hall planning department during regular business hours. This was posted on 11/1.
Correct.
All right.
And I'd like to just add, there are some on the table if you're interested in looking at a copy.
So representative for the CIP. We don't have anybody from the CIP committee. Roger.
Roger.
I'm to represent it.
Um,
I can say, here it is.
Nice job.
well done. So are there any aspects of this that you think are worth pointing out or highlighting or? Wish we'd warned you, we're gonna put you on the spot like this?
I guess the thing that it seems to me that we had already met with this, and I talked to Rich afterwards. I says, one thing that people don't actually realize is the self-sufficient, here's all the, like the highway department and the fire department. I mean, that's what we're paying for. It's like this, the dump pays for itself, the water department, they pay for themselves, but so basically this is all about the fire department and the highway department. Nice day. I don't know if there was a pie chart.
They have the biggest numbers, that's for sure.
No, there is no pie chart.
Remember what the percentage was?
About 70% is what Frank mentioned the last time.
Yeah.
Was on highway.
Was on roads. Yeah, roads, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's, like I say, this is basically about the highway department and the fire department. Everybody else takes a little bit. So I mean, our effort was to keep that number down, so close to $1 as we could, and it was struggled, and we were close, but.
Well, the purpose really is gathering the information and presenting it as a proposed 6-year plan for the selectmen to use as a tool and the budget committee. That's the whole purpose.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that this is not saying we are going to spend this money. This is just simply charting out a plan.
Yeah.
To, hopefully somewhat of a guide.
I think it could be more so say, we are gonna spend this money,
We're likely
but
to,
at least it gives you an idea of, okay, this is what should be spent. So now when you see this getting spent, now it's when you ask the questions, this money's gonna get spent. I mean, fire department and the highway department, they'll spend anything you give them. And this is the equipment that they say they need, so that money's getting spent, there's no doubt about that. It's when you see the numbers going higher and higher that, it's like now you gotta start asking the questions.
yeah.
Did we ever clarify if the fire department is a 20 or 25 year equipment? Because I know that it was made 25 years. And when the last time I saw something last year, it had moved back to 20 years. And this equipment is just too expensive. It will last 25 years and be fine. What was that?
Long drawn out breaks, I think.
I think we need to know.
Yeah, well, looking at their projections, it appears that they're basing most everything on roughly a 20-year.
Yeah, and
There's
that's-
a couple of odds and ends in
Yeah,
here that are a little more.
It's the
22.
Board of Selectmen that's responsible for that. And we had one here and he left. Oh, there, Paul, do you know anything about that? Reducing the equipment lifespan on the fire department from 25 years to 20 because they're using 20 now? That should be looked into because it's been 25 years for year, 25 year. Yeah, I mean, you're spending, or what's the new engine they're doing right now, with replace engine 2? I don't know the number on it, but I'm sure it's
It's up there.
$500,000 or $600,000. So. Thank you.
884 for engine 2.
Excuse me.
884 for engine 2.
20 years ago, we bought the other one for $234,000.
Yeah.
Isn't that sick?
Any more questions from the board? Any comments? Hearing none, does anybody from the public want to come up and make a comment? Can you pull the microphone down? Thank you.
How's that?
Better. And just say your name again, just so.
Yeah,
we
I
can
know,
get
I
everything.
can't hear a lot of you out there, so. I was here at the last meeting you had on the CIP. It was just it wasn't open to the public. Was it 2 weeks ago or a week ago anyway? I would ask for my public input is I would ask that you put a footnote or some kind of note that, well, I'll tell you what I wrote up, but anyway, I think replacement of equipment should be based on such factors as hours of service or mileage and visible inspection of general condition, not the CIP yearly estimates of funding cycles. And what I'm trying to get at is they bought a new truck that only had, they turned in one that only had 72,000 miles on it. And it was 10 years old. The reason they said they replaced it was because it said it was on the CIP, a 10-year replacement. I don't know, maybe I'm the odd one out, but I don't think 72,000 miles is really a point where a truck has to be replaced. I think that should have been looked at. I think these things should be looked at. I think the mileage and the hours should be factored into this. Not that we are trying to make a chart here for funding to keep the tax rate from cycling. So that's what I would ask, that you would put some kind of note that it should be based on hours and mileage. And it's sort of like what Scott is saying about the 20 versus 25 years. At the deliberative session, I brought this up. I looked on the internet and there's a Fire Truck Manufacturing Association. And I quoted at the deliberative session. They have cycles that if you're in the middle of the city and you take out the truck 4 times a night, they don't expect it to last maybe 10 years. If you're out here in the rural area and it only goes out once a week, they said almost up to 30 years is not unheard of. I guess I wasn't heard, but there's a company, an association of these manufacturers that will tell you what you could expect for a life cycle. There's also magazine articles of manufacturers for like backhoes and excavators, and they can tell you when you can expect a certain time hours, so you're gonna have to start replacing equipment and how much it's gonna cost. The starter should, maybe go 20,000 hours, maybe the alternator, another issue, and they can tell you how much you should then estimate when you should get rid of the equipment or have it remanufactured. Now, I know we've got department heads, but they have limited experience in equipment. These manufacturers have hundreds of these equipment and they have these hours down. So I think it's important that we look at that also, these associations, and try to understand when it's the best time to get rid of an equipment, instead of just us doing it over the seat of our pants type, but we seem to be doing now. I mean, I don't see it. I watched on the video. I don't see any of that was covered in the CIP. I didn't see any manufacturers, associations, or anything like that saying, okay, we should expect the fire trucks to last 25 or 20 years. I think we should consider that. Perhaps in your subcommittee next year, they can start to zero in on some of that.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
is it the responsibility of the CIP?
Yes, it is.
Now,
Because it's-
I'd say the departments are the ones that need to cover it because they're dealing with it.
Let's back it all the way to the top of the select.
Yep,
The
exactly.
Selectmen need to go to the departments and say that.
This is where it is.
There was a fire truck and it was supposed to be done here. We needed to make it to $1. So we pushed them up the road further so we could get it down to $1. So we did do that there. The other thing, that truck you mentioned, was that a one-ton? Was that a pickup? Was that a Mack
No, it's a pickup.
pickup truck? I do know that it seems like there's an awful lot of pickups down to the highway department. They do get passed down.
Passed around.
This was,
Passed around. Well, no, now it's just down to the,
yeah, this wasn't the highway department.
so the highway department you were
No.
talking about,
No,
Parks and Rec. that was-
no, it wasn't passed down. It was traded in.
Oh, no, I know. Oh, well, usually,
Yeah, no, this one wasn't. But that's something to hash out. That's just my input. And if you look on page 5 of the 5 of 11, I happen to notice, and it was brought up at your meeting, last meeting, when Frank Rich came in, he made the comment toward at the end. Excuse me. You look on that page 5, you look down about an inch and a half and it says HD 15 high pack roller, 10-ton, 20-year life expansion. It's a 1995. I was on the board when we got that from the Army for free. And it didn't have
Squat.
no hours on it whatsoever.
Plus those things,
Yeah.
they last forever
That-
because there's so little
That's-
on them to go bad.
That's what Frank Richard mentioned that night. I don't think you were here, Scott, then, were you?
No, I was not.
And then you go down to HD 31 and here's an asphalt roller, 20-year lifespan. So again, it's the last meeting or the meeting when, I'm sorry, it wasn't the last meeting. It was the meeting before when they presented this to you. He made the comment that was in this business, this construction business, and rollers don't get any hours on them. They're lucky to get 20 hours a year. So I would recommend that instead of putting that down to be replaced for $90,000, I would recommend that this board put down rental. I think that would be better off our money to rent those 2 rollers. I don't know why we have 2 rollers at all,
Well, one's for asphalt and the other one's for road
Okay.
construction.
but it certainly would make more sense to rent something that we're going to use 6 times a year per se, maybe. And then have it sit down there. And then when we go to start it up, the mice have got into it, the battery's flat. I think there's some of these things we can rent more economically than to have something sit there for 10 months of the year or more.
That was Frank's recommendation.
Yes, to put,
So
but
it's confusing as to why. I think Frank was the guy that kind of led putting this together, right? I'm wondering why Frank felt that he couldn't. No, Frank put it together. Why couldn't, I don't know why Frank felt like he couldn't do that.
I don't either.
wait, do what?
Rental.
Yeah, the Frank's point
No,
was.
I think he did talk about that. I mean, my thoughts are, we have it. I rent it.
Okay, but the one down here, look, they're
I don't
gonna,
know about I don't know about the pavement. roll.
they're gonna replace that in 20 years.
Yeah, was
It says on 31 and on 15, they expect to replace it in 20 years.
And they want to replace that high pack roller next year on 23.
So I think we've got to look at some of this rental would be better off.
Well, I'm sure that high pack roller would probably be good for another 10 years. That's what I'm saying,
I
at
think
least
so too.
10 years.
Yeah.
You know, our old engine 4 at the fire department, they replaced that last year. You know, and those who know Irving Roberts, that thing was a cherry, you know? The one that they got rid of, it was just fine. But, you know, they just got rid of it.
Well, you know, the question again, the CIP is a tool. The information has to be given to us to create it. The idea of rentals or purchases, that's up to the selectmen and to the budget committee. We're putting together a plan. We're not designing things.
Well, we are, we're spacing it out for the. tax rate.
Right, no, but well, this comes in with the information from each department. I mean, this is a tool for which the selectmen and the budget committee use it to work on budgets. So that at this point, I don't think that we should be making the choices as to whether to rent or to buy. We're taking the information from the particular thing. You can put a footnote here and simply say that there's an option to rent. But I mean, that's not for the CIP to figure out.
Well, I would disagree with that because I think it's your opinion and your judgment that the people elected you to do this. And
No, this is a special request from the selectmen.
if that is the case, if that is the thing, there is no sense in you having this at all. You may as well just have the department head tell you what they're gonna get, and we don't have this committee at all.
I think this
It's
capital
the
improvement,
judgment of you people is being sent to the selectmen for them to, yes, to use. But it's also why we elect people is to use their judgment of what has to be done and not done. I disagree with you. It doesn't make sense to have a committee then. You may as well just say, have the department heads make out a form and we'll just do whatever you want.
By state statute, the CIP has to come under the budget, under the planning board.
correct.
Yeah, that's right.
But ask
That's-
Roger, what was presented to them and what they have put here is vastly lower. I mean, they've talked to and worked with the different departments.
Yeah, we did, but I can see his point there. I can see what's, I mean, because, you know, maybe we could have had the discussion about the roller. Maybe, I mean, we could have, we gotta.
But that's the role of the budget committee and the selectmen to make those decisions.
Well, we do bring them in and we do talk about these things. Maybe we don't keep it.
So we can pass this, move this on to the selectmen with our comments and recommendations, including, you know, some of the items that you're mentioning. There's the CIP committee has done their job. They've outlined what the departments feel are their needs. And then since they report to us, we're going to put our layer on it.
Mhm.
And then present it to the selectmen.
When you say CIP feels they do the job, so in a sense, I think that's kind of how we got to. We get that thing at a buck. Feel like we've done our job. I mean, because it could be more. I mean, we did. I can't tell you what we moved here, there, and the other place to get it down to $1. So I guess that's where we sat back. Okay, we're at $1. That's all we're gonna do. Yeah, maybe we could have went to 90 cents.
Well, I think it's like Scott's issue about the 20 or 25-year fire trucks. If the majority of you think that 25 years is reasonable, then it should be in this plan, shouldn't it? It shouldn't be the department head says 20 and, oh, we can't touch it. We don't have the judgment to say, no, we think 25 is okay. That's his argument. I don't disagree
I
with
didn't
it.
say that.
Well, you are saying it.
No,
You're saying your judgment doesn't count. I think it does count. I think if the majority of you think that the fire department can along with 25 years on their fire trucks, then I think that's what you ought to recommend. I don't think you should say, well, the department head said 20, and so we can't monkey with it.
so
Disagree
we're considered economic geniuses that we know all.
I think our system of democracy is based on the judgment of people who are elected, not being geniuses, Tom. I think you have a judgment. He has a judgment. If the majority of you feel that that is reasonable for the town, then I think that's what you ought to recommend. I don't
So-
think you should say, no, we can't touch it. Our department head said this.
I don't think
I
that
disagree with
that's
that.
the idea of saying you can't touch it. I think that this should be considered sort of the minimal unless something, a blown engine or something else. But if an engine is in a machine is still working, you can extend it.
Then you would agree with that footnote that I'm asking you to put in, that it should be evaluated on its condition,
see-
mileage and hours.
I see that as an obvious situation, but that should be where under the policies of the selectmen, you were in that role, you understand. You're dealing constantly with the different departments, through the selectmen and the budget committee. They are the ones that dictate, okay, the facts that we want are figured out by going to a reference from these different associations. And that's what they turn in. You know how many subcommittees we have?
Hey, I never said democracy was easy. I didn't write the laws that put it on the planning.
But I think you may have brought up, a point that maybe we're kind of skirting around here a little bit, in that I think a blanket statement that because it's a fire truck, it's going to last for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. I don't think you can make a blanket statement like that. I think you're right. You need to evaluate each equipment for its condition, its hours of use, and
I
Just-
would add one item to it. Sir, I don't know your name. My name is Mark Manning. You didn't say it. I couldn't catch it when you said it, but it's nice to meet you. So if you were at that discussion where Frank was presenting the case here, if you remember when we got into the discussion around the fire trucks,
Yeah.
the ladder truck, right? One of the other things we should consider in terms of this budget is when is the maximum time to trade the thing in or sell it
Yeah.
as well. Because as you may recall, Jessica made the point, hey, we have a deal to sell this piece of equipment. And it was the right time to do it because we finance them out.
Yep.
So we should add that to your list.
Yeah, that's why that's what I was trying to get at is,
The input from the association that you said, I think that makes a lot of sense. If they know a good time of year to sell,
that's what I'm trying to say, that it should be based on hours of service, mileage, and a visual inspection of the general condition of the equipment.
right. And
Not on
just to
just-
kind of, let me just kind of continue on where I was trying to go with that. And Mark, by the way, so you're not on the board yet. And so publicly, one at a time, just to be clear. Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that we're clear on that. But to keep going where my thinking was on this is that at some point, these department heads still need to take a look at each individual piece of equipment, what its normal usage is, and maybe a roller is a 30-year lifespan, but maybe the backhoe is a 15-year lifespan because of the abuse and beating that it takes day in and day out.
Mhm.
And I think that the overall generalizations need to be, in the next CIP committee, need to kind of be taken out, and you really need to evaluate each individual piece of equipment. And yes, I think you're right on the money here with evaluating it each year. I think the fact that we're looking at 2 rollers in the next 2 years, basically, I mean, this year and next year.
Yeah, but they're totally different type roles.
I get it. I know that they're totally different, but it's also $220,000 worth of expenses that I'd like to think that someone in this chain, whether it be the highway department, the selectmen, or the budget committee, are going to put up the hand and say, time out. How bad is this piece of equipment that it needs to be replaced? I'd like to have that much faith.
That's why I'm asking that you put that footnote in there, because this is like, it's given the selectmen here, this is what we recommend. So that's why I'm saying, I think you ought to footnote. I think that's the job of the selectmen to say, okay, this truck is 10 years. And they come in and say, well, we want a new truck. Well, how many miles it got on? 72,000 miles. It wasn't visually inspected.
But I
It
think
was just brought up that night. They never went down and looked at it. And I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but 72,000 miles isn't very much on a truck.
No,
And-
it's
and
not. But if you,
so-
you know, if you also come to them and say, I need to replace this truck, and you've got a quote for, you know, $16,000 worth of mechanical failures that need to be repaired,
Yes.
that's a different story.
Right.
And it does happen.
And the other flip of the coin is, if it's 5 years old and it's got 300,000 miles on it, we ought to get rid of it, right? It's gonna be more problems.
But-
So it ought to be, if you're giving recommendations, I think that should be one of the recommendations to the selectmen is they ought to visually and look at it, see how many hours, see if it's reasonable. If it's not, you push it out for a couple years here.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt anybody. It helps the taxpayer.
Yep, I agree with that statement.
Drew?
Excuse me.
the concept to me, though, is that the selectmen should be sending a message with the requirements that they want from the
Absolutely.
departments,
Absolutely.
so that that information is then presented to the CIP. In other words, we're not mechanics.
But,
What am I going to do if I go down and look at a vehicle?
well, if you see a big rust hole in the side, you know it's not in good shape, correct? I mean, there's some common sense here, right? You know,
Right,
the
but-
oil's leaking out on the ground and the gas is pouring out of the gas tank. You know, let's not say we have to be expert,
No,
a
you
rocket
need to- you
scientist.
need to know something about what you're doing.
Well, okay, I think,
But
I think there's a lot of common sense.
we're not necessarily putting the onus on a select board member to make an evaluation on.
No,
the
but I
truck's
mean, I
value,
think
but-
that they have to set up the requirements of what information is presented.
Agreed, but we're, to your point is, I think that we need to recommend that they do that.
Yes.
Yes,
I would
yes,
agree
exactly.
there.
Yeah.
And
And I think, go ahead, Lee.
I was gonna just say, in under hours, like Mr. Carr was saying, 1 hour is equivalent to 42 miles. So on a roller, 1 hour of continuous is considered 42 miles. So if you've, like on the rollers, if it's only got 300 hours on it, I mean, that's nothing for transported over in the mileage.
Yeah.
So that should be noted in there that, so
The only-
people don't look at just hours and go, okay, it's got
Well, that's why I think
500 hours.
hours of service,
Is considered-
miles. and-
Miles
and there
wise,
was- What was the,
42
what was the
42
third?
miles.
There was a third criteria there.
Visual inspection.
Visual-
Yeah, overall condition,
Overall
right? I mean,
condition.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Bottom on is if a piece of equipment is constant, and it's like it's a lemon, you know, if it's constant, you're constantly putting money into it. Maybe it's time to cut your losses, but you were mentioning that that's 72,000 miles. As far as trading a vehicle in, I don't think you'd want to go too many more miles if you want to trade it in.
Stay 50 or under.
Not to say that.
You're gonna do that.
the truck couldn't have been handed down and still used, but I mean, if your intent was to get another one, replace that vehicle, 72,000 miles is probably high mileage even maybe. I mean, always used to be 65,000 miles, they're wholesale. They're not, even, you know, I'm talking cars, you know, I don't know, trucks would be different, but you know what I'm saying? So I mean.
So there's a lot of
that truck
factors to be
could have gone
considered.
Probably a lot more, but somebody wanted to trade it in and get a new one.
Well, the reason given to the selectmen is it's 10 years, it's on the CIP, time to trade in. I don't think that's a good.
One other thing that I think we need to pay attention to is the dollar is a great allure, but I think our assessed value here is 1.3 billion-ish dollars. So that's 1.3 million, that's $1.3 million in purchases over the course of the year. And so it's not just $1 we're gonna see in our tax bill, because nobody's house is worth $1,000. And, so there are properties in this town that have very, very high values. And I'm not gonna begrudge them for having their whatever they have. But, that trickles down to real money for people. So, I mean, I realize we've got to get these things and keep moving forward. But as like Loring said, I think, maybe we can let things last a little bit longer and maybe make that 85 cents or something like that.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, can I just point out, so at the CIP committee, on the highway department, there were 3 items that the committee, pushed out some years.
What page you
And
want,
it
Jessica?
wasn't reflected on the column of equipment replacement. And I would like to just
Page,
point
page-
that
page
out.
you want?
page 5.
5.
Still page 5.
So on this HD 15, that high pack roller, under the column of projected equipment replacement, it says 2023, but we actually pushed it out to 2027. If you look out further.
Well, that is on the wrong line. That
No, I think
129.
It's not.
Yeah,
It is.
No, withdrawal from CRF line. So it is on the correct line. It's not.
Oh, okay.
So-
Yep. Sorry about that.
So,
Last time.
so that, so that should state 2027. And I'd like to clarify that HD 17, we also pushed that out from 2025 to 2026. And then on HD 18, we pushed out the Dodge Ram pickup from 2024 to 2025. That just didn't get reflected in that column.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
See, so we didn't give them everything they want.
Every bit helps. Only one more input, I guess. The vehicles for the $3,500 for the building inspector and assessor. We already have 41 articles we have to go through. $3,500, couldn't we just make that 10,000, in 3 years, instead of having, we got 2 warrant articles for $3,500. That's 0.001% of the budget. Why 3,500? I think that one could be kind of a little bit eliminated, some of the warrant articles, but maybe that's a selectman's choice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, $3,500.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Anybody else from public?
This is going to be quick because Lawrence pretty much covered everything. But I just want to
Don't,
reinforce.
don't forget to say your name into the.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave Huzzy, Alton, New Hampshire, 356 Huncook Valley Road. I want to add that, I've been buying machinery and selling it overseas for about 30 years. And condition and hours are what we base it on. Year is not really a big factor at all. We just got rid of the excavator here in the town, had low hours on it for an excavator. We put $38,000 into it and we sold it for 30. Doesn't make much sense to me. And Scott knows that 320 was better than the machine they've got now. So I hear Tom, what he's right on what he's saying. But the CIP has to look at, when I was in Rochester, I was on the CIP. We had to look at, can they get away with renting machinery? Can they get away with less, not buying a piece of equipment because it's got very low hours? Like the excavator, I guess now that they're going to buy, I think the lifespan 7 years. I just want, I'm pretty sure if you check on it, it's 7 years.
What, on this thing here?
Yeah,
Oh, couldn't be.
go look at it. I'm pretty sure it is, isn't it, Lauren? I'm sure. Well, anyhow, 7 years is way too low for an excavator in a town. I mean, my God, I don't even really look at excavators less than 10 years old, you know? And you're not going to get any hours on them, especially in town, because you're only going to use them 4 or 5 months out of the year. So that's when the CIP has got to recommend, should this be a rental machine that you're going to use, say, 4 months or 2 weeks? You call them up, they'll have it down there within 48 hours, a machine. And you don't have to do maintenance on it. You don't have to do a thing. Something breaks on it, you pick up the phone, say, you bring me another machine. No cost, nothing like that. So that's what CIP has got to look at, the big picture. It's not just the selectmen. The selectmen are just like you guys. You just said yourself, you're not a mechanic. A selectman doesn't know this stuff. And you've got a lot of things. Should it be rented? Should it be replaced? How many hours on it? Just because you've got a department head that wants a pretty shiny machine. Well, I'm sorry. Is it doing the job? Has it got low hours? And do we need to replace it? Is it 7 years? Did you look at it?
It is, it's
Looking
on
at
page,
HD
it's on
four.
page
Now, it
5.
Doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Well, we don't have a link belt. We don't
Yeah,
have a link belt excavator, so. And then it says trade-in value is 74,000.
I saw the link belt too.
So it's, nothing jives about that excavator.
yeah.
I don't get.
I thought it was 7 years. I could have sworn I
It
read
Plus
it.
it says 7-year
Yep.
lifespan right after that link belt 145 excavator.
What do they
7-year
mean
life-
by the trade-in value of 74,000?
Right.
Well, it's a year 2022, it says here.
Yeah, and spanking new.
Yeah, I mean, figured it out.
It-
I'm not from They have a placeholder that they estimated and now they bought them. They bought them about 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, but it is, it's.
That, the loaders and everything else.
7-year lifespan.
7-year lifespan.
Yeah.
Now, you know yourself.
Yeah.
You guys are both contracted. 7-year excavators.
I don't get them till they're older than that.
Yeah, well, I don't even look at it, you know?
So,
What I'm saying is you gotta go by hours and then you gotta go. Do you need this? You're only using it 4 months out of the year. Do you want to put up with the maintenance for it? Or you rental, you don't,
I think that's where the 7-year comes in. I think it has something to do with warranties. Getting rid of them before they go out of warranty because they're so expensive when, you know, when the many computers.
Okay.
So that may be where the 7 years comes
Yeah,
in.
and that's
Yeah.
probably why they have the estimated trade-in value.
So
at
what you
year
say, why don't
7.
you Go back and get one that's way before all the computers.
exactly. I agree. I buy everything. I just bought a John Deere 710. I paid $12,000. It's got 850 hours on it. It's like brand new. I shipped it out of New York. The machine is new, you know? So I mean,
So the, to try and see if I can make sense, I mean, I understand that you feel like the CIP should be making these decisions. I kind of disagree, but I think that the point you're making is that
I'm not saying he's making, excuse me.
they should be asking the questions of the department heads
Yes.
very specifically
Yes.
on each
Yeah.
line item.
Yeah, I'm not saying they make the decision,
Okay.
but when it comes up, they should say, can you rent this machine? Why can't you rent this machine? Because they're going to say, no, we want it. You know, but why should the town spend $300,000 when they can spend, I don't know, it's $4,500 a month for a machine. That's a hell of a lot cheaper than $300,000. You know, and Lauren's right. It is hours and condition. The years on machinery really don't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. In fact, what you said made sense. Get it before the computers, or was it you? One of you guys?
Him,
Before the computers.
and before all the emissions controls.
And you're right.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I just wanted to reinforce what Lauren said, but I do feel, I appreciate what the CIP does. You guys put your time in, you guys do what you want. And I think, like Tom said, the selectmen should be giving them more of a focused thing, like, can we rent these machines? What are the hours on? Maybe they should give them a checklist. This is what we want you to ask our department heads.
Yeah.
And at that point, the department has got to prove why they're saying what it is, not because I want a pretty color. You know what I mean? Anyhow, that's.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, before Mr. Hussey goes away, hold on one second. So I was just looking at the backup paperwork that was provided to
Yeah.
the CIP committee from the
Yeah.
highway department. So that excavator does have a 7-year or 5,000 hour warranty.
Warranty on it.
So
Yeah.
that's why it's listed as 7 years on the CIP
Okay,
plan, just to
But,
clarify.
and that makes sense, but yet I still disagree with 7 years. Even though the warranty's out of there, it's cheaper than, and that's why I say rental, because rental, you're not gonna have to ever pay anything but have it delivered. And okay, and on an excavator, I have an excavator is the machine that is used, has the less abuse because they run at a constant speed. The other vehicles are, you're going back and forth, but an excavator stays at a constant speed and they don't have the surging. So an excavator's got the longest lifespan, probably other than the roller, which that roller we bought for $60. I didn't buy it. We got it from the government. It had 60 hours on it. That's what I did. And maybe that's other things we should start checking into. That roller will last, I'll bet you, another 20 years with no problem whatsoever.
I don't see a reason why it couldn't.
Yeah, there's nothing
Easily,
there. I mean,
easily.
so you'll replace some rubber shock absorbers on it. I mean, that's,
After
the worst thing.
A few things, but it's still better than $300,000. Anyhow,
All right, thank you.
Well,
Anybody else from the public?
well, I'm just, what was, what still, maybe Jessica could make like a note of, because my memory's not that.
mush.
Next year when CIP comes. Got this list of things, oh, well, let's consider this, you know.
Well,
I think it'd be-
Roger, I think that what makes sense, what Dave was saying is if we put together a list of recommendations that we submit to the selectmen and say, these are the things we'd like you to check with the departments on and ask them to provide this information. I think, and what Loring said that made a lot of sense was it's going to take a little bit of time to check with the different associations, but they have recommendations of years on different things. So, you know, if we supply that information and then the selectmen send that information to the other departments, you know, then they know what we're looking for. What the town is looking for, not we. So I think that is the thing that we want to put, as Loring is saying, put as a footnote in our recommendation to the select, when we send this on to the selectmen. These are the recommendations that we have. There are many things here that possibly could be rented. Or then what else would we had? We had, they should be used. We recommend visual inspections and checking really realistically on the lifetime number of years you can get out of it. And can it also be rented? So I don't know if there are any other questions you want to include to recommend to the selectmen, but I think that's the stuff that we'd like to have come to the CIP as opposed to the CIP going out and doing it themselves.
Oh, good. See how they look compared to my notes.
Hope you can read this.
one other thing too, and Tom kind of touched on it. Another thing, like I said, we got that roller for nothing from the government. And maybe that's another thing. That roller would have cost, just used, I bet it would have been $100,000.
That's a huge one.
That was a huge one. It was in perfect condition. And I'm saying, maybe that's something you should put in your footnotes. Have we looked at other places to procure this equipment from? Because there are places, the government will give the cities equipment.
Yeah.
Grants. And that's something, instead of just going out carte blanche buying everything. And again, I know the CIP has not got time to do this. They just don't have time to do it. But that's something that should be in the footnotes. And actually, the guys that should be doing this are the department heads.
Plus, there's also a huge auction market all the time on
Yes,
equipment.
yes.
Sometimes, let's say this guy has a huge pipe job, they'll buy all this equipment,
Yeah.
do the pipe job, and it's done, they auction it off. It
Yeah.
goes away. So that's another good area to
We
pick up
we
stuff.
buy probably 10 million a year from auctions and we ship it overseas.
Yep.
So, I mean,
That's where it came from.
Yeah,
I know, we're shipping it back.
The gray market machines.
yeah, there's certain risks with auctions, I suppose, with just about anything, but certainly government surplus has always been a great source for towns. So I'm adding to your notes. Yeah, no, that's great. And the other consideration was also trade-in values. Excellent, thank you. Anybody else from public? That's yours.
Do I have anything different?
Right. So that we're going to close the public session. And I think we've done an awful lot of deliberations on this. The board have any other? You want to kind of get a recap of what we're going to footnote to the selectmen? Or do you all feel like you've got a grasp of it at this point?
Mr. Chair, may I just point out 2 other dates that we had modified as a committee? So that way everything's all correct tonight.
What page?
So on page 6. It's HD 29, which is the highway rock asphalt crushing. Originally, it was scheduled for 2027, but we moved it up to 2026.
HD which?
HD 29.
Yeah, well, that makes all the sense in the world because you're saving dollars on product. I mean, when you can crush it, you're probably gonna pay $6 or $7 a yard these days because of fuel prices. But I just can't say that's the best thing in the world. I mean, you need to crush your products because, this is one of the reasons why when Hussey's Pit came up for sale back that, Keith Babb has, I felt the town should own it because you'd have an eternity of aggregates and products that would service, and you could have put a highway shop out there and nobody would have saw it, and it would have been a lovely thing, but those days are gone.
Okay, so I had one more. It's HD 32. Originally proposed for 2023, and we pushed it out to 2025. And that's it. I just double checked everything.
Do we have any survey plans of the Bay parking lot? That
Oh,
could
we
be,
have to have,
I hope so, because I'm gonna take a project on myself, and I want to look at some new lighting, dark sky lighting for the bay and things of this nature. And because I was one that found those lights that are there, but that's before the word dark sky ever existed.
when they put in those, oh God, what do you call those special drain culverts?
Culverts?
Not culverts, they're vertical, catch basin, thank
There
you.
you go.
But I mean, there were special ones that were put in when Jim Washburn was here. And so there should be a good survey of the whole thing, especially when they were doing all the work for the septic thing for splitting between the 2 sides for the restaurant and Pops and Alton Bay campground. So that those drawings should be available someplace.
Lakes Region Conservation Commission, I think, did a complete survey of all the drainage structures and all.
Okay,
Planning, excuse me.
well, whatever we can get that is measured, if we can get it in a digital form,
Yeah.
that would be the best.
I think those parking lot lights are fine.
Well, they're not dark sky anymore, and there's a hell of a lot cheaper ways to illuminate what we need to illuminate. Those are sodium vapors, and they're probably 80, 90 watts a piece. And we'll probably get it down to
So getting
13 to 15.
getting back onto the CIP. So at this point, close the public hearing session, deliberations, got onto lighting.
The light.
I think it's a worthwhile endeavor, though. And so now we're down to the point of taking a vote whether to submit the CIP plan of 2023 as amended to the Board of Selectmen and Budget Committee as the planning board's recommendations for 2023.
I so move.
So I would also suggest adding, I would read this as an additional recommendation.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
Whoever's,
I'll take let me take a stab at it because
so I would put these other things right before you read that section, if you
okay,
feel comfortable with that wording.
all right, let me check that.
wait, so you're gonna say any other discussion?
Once he makes the motion, there will be further discussion.
Well, we can have further deliberation as well. I did,
Well, it seemed like you were getting ready to read that list and that
He was.
that was my point. I don't think that's,
Enough?
no, I think that's good, but I think that's for next year. I don't think it's to go with this.
Well, no, the recommendation goes to
yeah,
to the
so,
selectmen
That way
so
the
they can
selectmen
work
can
on next
polish
year.
it up if they need to.
yeah, so let me take a stab at it and then we can
Further
discuss if
discuss.
you think that it needs some tweaking or elimination for that matter. But it would be the that we're not necessarily amending, but we are adding a comment, recommendations to the Selectmen and Budget Committee that replacement of equipment should be based on such factors as the hours of service, mileage, and overall condition of any piece of equipment.
Or vehicle.
And we should also take into consideration the trade-in value of the equipment, opportunities to rent equipment that needs replaced, that should be taken out of commission as a replacement, and also other sources to purchase the equipment, such as the government or auction houses. And that's just simply a recommendation to the Selectmen and the Budget Committee.
Which would apply obviously to next year, but they can use the idea of the rental for this year.
For any purchases still to come. So,
For the future.
Right. Well, that's future. That's what I mean, I would say, selectmen, here's the
Took out this,
plan.
Jesus.
And for future plans, we would recommend such.
well, yeah, we're saying that before you purchase any equipment that may be on this plan, we recommend
That's.
you go through this exercise.
But they have all the way to March to do this.
Yeah.
If they want to put it forward, they have till March, if it goes before the voters, if it's ratified, then they're not gonna, well, sometimes they can put the order right out, but the selectmen can go through their due diligence if need be.
And I think that's kind of what the request is
Due diligence.
due diligence. So,
Yeah. One, that hasn't been.
Is that a
seconded yet.
motion?
That was a motion, I think.
sure.
Okay.
So moved by Drew.
I'll second it.
Okay, and I'll ask Paul.
That was seconded by Tom. I gotta get
Yeah,
practice.
Now we're under further discussion.
Yes, now we're
Thank
into
you.
further discussion.
Do we use capital reserve accounts anymore in town? For whom?
Can we have Paul come up to the table?
Yeah, Paul, do you want to come up and just,
Thank you.
But yes, the answer to that is yes.
Okay, because I know the select.
I don't have the list in front of me.
I don't want to put you on the spot like that. But I know that selectmen went through a spell that they wanted to lease everything when our previous town administrator was here.
Mhm. Yep.
I personally feel we should not be financing these things, especially nowadays where the interest rates are jumping up at 3/4 of a point every month. Why don't we polish up our capital reserve accounts when we have the money for these things? Let's buy them. That's what we always used to do. I mean, I'll go back to the 1975 Engine 5, and Nancy Merrill was my high school teacher, and we had to go there for town meeting. And that was tossed around and how it was done. And it was in the fire department raised a good portion of the money in which to buy it. So, I think it's a good idea because most everything on this list is really considered consumable.
Right.
I mean, there's no real property things other than maybe some remodeling here and there, but I think we should pay for it. And I would like to think the Board of Selectmen would look at that and
Look at that and
come up with a decision
their
what they feel is right.
Sure. No, Paul or Rochelle, Board of Selectmen. I also want to say that I like some of the suggestions I'm hearing here tonight, if I may elaborate on the CIP and on purchasing vehicles and or renting. I agree. The Board of Selectmen don't all know exactly all the equipment that is used every day. We don't know, we know of the equipment. We see it on paper, we see them around town, but we don't always know the conditions of the vehicles. So that's why we rely on the CIP. We rely on the department heads to let us know and tell us exactly what they need and what their wants are. And then we make a determination from that and an evaluation from that. We do discuss mileage. But we do take recommendations, and I think it's also a good suggestion to go with not only the mileage, the hours, and to look at the general condition of the vehicles. And that's one of the things I think that we rely maybe a little too much on of all our department heads, and it's good to have this review. So it's a reminder for the selectmen to remember to make sure when we purchase or look into anything that we take that next step. And I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. No, any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. So moved.
Thanks for the nice work on that, because that's a lot of work,
That is a lot of work.
a lot of work.
Few hours too. Couple of meetings.
All right, next on the agenda, joint meeting with the Zoning Amendment Committee. Zach Committee present their recommendation for proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance to the Alton Planning Board. So this is still not a public hearing. This is just kind of our own review and make sure that all of the edits match up all of those that we previously discussed.
All these amendments, as you see them, have been voted on by the zoning amendment committee group. And they voted unanimously to move them forward to the planning board for their edification.
Yes, and the planning board has had a couple of opportunities, I think, to review this. And there has been some language.
Yeah, little tweaks here and there.
Yep, which is why we have such a multicolored.
And we got to buy just a few new ink cartridges.
Can I ask some dumb questions? Page 2. Under Article 300,
Yep,
number 2. It says the dwelling is served by one on-site parking space for each permitted bedroom, plus one additional parking space. Is that one additional for each bedroom?
no, it's the number of bedrooms plus one.
So if you have a 3-bedroom house,
You need 4
you need
spaces.
4 parking
All right,
spaces.
that wasn't clear. So I mean,
Okay,
that's why I
And the reason we went 1 per bedroom is on a lot of these short-term rentals. One couple will be here in a bedroom, one couple will be here in a bedroom, one couple will be here in a bedroom. So it's 3 couples sharing a property and they all come with a car. So that's kind of why we went in that
Yep,
direction.
no. I just,
Would be too many cars.
Well, they have to be all held on their property too.
the other question I had was on page 3. Article 400, zoning district restrictions. And there seems to be a yes under short-term rental for the RS zone. And the RS zone is just for recreation.
That's not true.
That's the way it was described forever.
Well, let's put it this way, Woodcrest off 11D on Roger Street used to be a trailer park years ago,
That's true.
and that's the Lakeshore RS zone,
Yeah, well,
recreational
It never
services.
became a marina, but
No, it didn't, but there's all kinds of residences there. That's
Yeah.
my point I'm trying to make, and that goes all the way down to the Temple property. On
But what
11D.
that does though, that means that I remember back to help me with the name, Fisherman's place, Jensen.
Boulder Lodge.
Yeah, Boulder Lodge. The new owner there wanted to build a separate dwelling unit and he was denied that because the recreational service was zoned just for the camping. The original structures that were there were allowed to stay. But he had wanted to build another one. So in this case, you're saying that any recreational service place, marina, is enabled to build extra things.
I don't think you need to use the word marina in its singular form. I mean, it's many other things that could fall into the recreational services zone.
Not by the definition.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I elaborate and shed some light?
Yeah,
So,
I need, I need the
yes.
light.
So in the recreational services zone, there are other uses that are allowed, for instance, a home business. So a home business is allowed in that zone. Also,
Oh, yes. adult.
hotels or motels and lodging houses and bed and breakfasts. So I
When
think,
when
so
was
that was,
changed?
Well, they had to put that in there from the onset, Tom, because Boulder Lodge cottages were there before zoning. Birdsey built them.
No, but originally with the, I was thinking of predominantly of, Roberts Cove and.
Well, in West Alton Marina.
Yeah,
I agree with you there. I agree with you there, but that's not the only thing going on in the recreational services zone.
but the thing was, is the ones in West Alton were proposed but never built into marinas.
Well, Woodcrest proposed it at one point and it never really, they already had a little tiny
We
marina for
had
what they
someone
needed
who was
there.
a selectman who lived there and wanted to have it so.
I'm not gonna go there.
But that's what it was. And I mean, but I mean, those were, I mean, it's designated as that, but there's no marina in the other side of the bay. So, you know, I think that the recreational service needs to be tied up.
It hasn't got a lot to do with it, but what Jessica listed is must go on if we ever want a chance of something going on here. You know,
Yeah.
maybe Boulder Lodge Commons, someone come down and level it and build a motel there. Who
Well,
knows?
then I'm interested in why was it that the Greenblatts or who was it who had bought Boulder Lodge?
Jensen, Walgreen,
Yeah.
Had it last.
They
has it
they
last.
applied for building a separate home. And we said, no, you can build a storage area and have a housing place above it for, you know, someone who works there, but you can't have a separate residential unit. And that was early 2000s. I think you were still on the board then.
I was gonna say, that must have been pre-me.
I don't recall the Walgreen coming in for that.
I'm
so.
not sure that I understand though. I mean, this, we're not talking about issuing permits to build new structures. We're talking about the issuance and the usage of those
Right, but I mean, in other words, but
existing structures.
Well, let's put it in a little more simple terms.
Yeah.
Boulder Lodge cottages, every one of those could become a, what are those,
The short-term rental.
short-term rental, right? And so it would have to be available into that zone. You know, that's cottage colonies and things like that. What few there are left. And I don't know if there's any IRS down in Half Moon or not. I don't think there is.
No,
no, that actually, that access is limited to swimming. It's not supposed to be.
I don't think there's a ramp there, is there? I don't
Yeah,
think-
but if you look at the deed, it says for swimming access only.
no, it doesn't. It says for boat access only. We fought that. because we all used to swim there and we got kicked out because it was considered a boat launch area only. So
Okay,
nobody
I think-
can.
I think we're debating something completely unrelated to what we're trying to accomplish here. So were there any other comments?
I think it was a great job on the short term.
So it took up most of our time.
Yeah, but I mean, you achieve something. It's usable.
Public.
So my only concern is I'd like to see a clean document without all the comments, you know, that
Yeah, well,
we've been bouncing.
when
around.
when the real McCoy, if we can get it all in one color text.
Right, at the public hearing, it'll be cleaned up a bit. There are a couple of comments that I think the board should address. But I don't know if you want to go through and do public input first, or I don't know how you guys want to do this.
Well, what,
Actually, there is no public input.
there is no public input, so
Okay.
which ones?
So, on page 2, that would be number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Specifying
this-
whether it should be not allowed
Right.
off of class 6
It
roads.
doesn't make it makes no note of it being allowed or not allowed off of a class 6 road. And the language in green was suggested by town council.
I thought that made sense. But I think you have to mention when they say pursuant to RSA 674:41. I think you have to translate it into English too.
And one thing I think we need to tell everybody right off the bat is the Board of Selectmen will be developing a permit process for these short-term rentals.
one.
No,
No.
no. And that way, you know, if there are complaints, the selectmen have the teeth. Nobody else has the teeth.
I think
you
there's
know?
been some recommendations, but nothing formalized because we
So-
don't have this
And
yet.
I
It's
just want everybody
roads.
to know.
Road usage and requirements.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I think what the journey, I mean, you really need to have this available on a class 6 road, in my opinion, because there are a lot of cabins out there, maybe a hunting cabin or something like that. That you're gonna rent for the week just because somebody likes to hunt and they're out in the
Fishing.
boonies someplace and.
So I do remember going over this last time at length. And I thought that we had agreed to include the attorney's revision to this.
That's how I recall it.
I could be wrong.
Yes.
I am wrong. Yes,
No,
I am
you're
wrong.
not
Oh.
wrong.
All right.
Sorry.
Married too long, Drew.
Yeah. I get a standardized response. So. Because I think it's one of those things, do you approach it from the right or the left? And clearly we approach it from the opposite direction that the attorney felt that we should approach it from. So. So the new wording would be access to the dwelling unit is provided by a town or state maintained road. Unless a waiver pursuant to RSA 674:41 has been recorded and provided to the town and the owner remains compliant with all terms therein stated.
I think he has those 2 words back. It should be stated therein, but that would be my opinion, but I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, that's lawyer speak. That's
I know.
lawyer speak. So I would make a motion that we incorporate the attorney's words on that.
I'll second that.
I
don't know if we'd have to vote on that or not, but it's mostly overall, how's the board feel about that? So,
Well, you can't have it on a class 6 road unless you have the waiver.
right.
right. Right, and I think that was our approach, but we're taking a U-turn. So and I do know that we did discuss about a requirement of the property owner to have a posting of what that RSA 674:41.
As well with contacts and things of this
As
nature.
well as
But I think that will
contacts.
come under the septic, yeah, selectmen's permitting
And
process.
that would, yeah, so that would kind of be conveyed to the selectmen.
Right, I think.
And
so
maybe
that
if we-
People are aware of that.
You know, and maybe if it gets approved and things like this, maybe we should ask the selectmen to provide us a draft copy of whatever the permit process is to see if we feel the bases have been covered. I mean, because we've talked about this a lot more than they will, you know, I mean, just in defense of them.
And it is kind of property use. I mean, it kind of, it's a land use sort of thing, so
Yep.
not unreasonable for us to request at least a opportunity to
To
review.
review the draft, yeah.
So,
I mean, many hands to make light work, right?
yeah, or too many cooks in the, yeah.
Yeah, spoil the broth.
All right, so what was your next one was the next page, page 3, is that,
Yes, I'm gonna beat this to death one more time.
yeah,
Now that it's at the planning board level. I don't know, my point was, by allowing short-term rentals and accessory dwelling units, kind of defeats the purpose of our next mission, which is trying to provide additional housing to assist with the housing shortage. I just feel like it conflicts with what we're trying to do next. That's just my opinion, and I feel like
I
I'm
don't-
the only one in that.
I don't think a conflict, because they're two different things, but short term is a vacation. Efficiency in the housing thing is places where people live, that's where you hang your hat.
Well, the ADU can be used as a place for people to live.
That's
Right,
my.
That's
point.
true.
yeah, the point being that we could be sacrificing a a year rental term for a whole bunch of short-term rentals. However, I think that there's going to be two schools of thought for these property owners. Those that aren't going to want to deal with these short-term rentals and are going to want somebody in there for a full year or longer.
And the thing of it is, it's the other person, you get back more money with the short term.
Right.
You
So
do,
it's all
you
about-
work harder
it's-
for it too.
Play the game. You don't want to deal with the in and out. You're gonna get this amount. So
But-
I don't think you could disallow it. I mean,
Yeah, I
let me rent it the way I want to rent it. It's my house.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that option needs to be out there and needs to be the homeowner's decision how they want to use their property. No,
What wasn't the purpose of building the ADUs to get more housing?
Yes,
That's the dilemma as far as I see here.
well, there's been an awful lot of regulation in this town that
Well, that was a
Contradicts itself.
state regulation.
yeah, but there's other regulations within this town that are so contrary to trying to get more affordable housing. And I think that that's something that this committee is going to tackle hard and heavy.
Yeah.
On the next round. And that's a big one to tackle as well.
Yep.
So.
Because the I hate to use the term workforce housing, that's going to come back into play now pretty strong because reasonable cost housing is not available anymore. I mean, 2-bedroom apartments, $1,500 now, and if you can get into a house for $450,000, that's a tough one right
Yeah.
there. There's not the police and firefighter type housing that they always claim it to be.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. So I don't know how the board feels about that, but I stated my opinion. I mean, obviously, Roger, you and
Yeah, I
agree on that.
agree.
Scott and Tom, what are your thoughts on?
I'm a dilemma because I thought we were the purpose of the ADUs was to increase housing. availability.
Well, it still could be used as housing.
Right, but if you have an option of making more money with short-term rentals, what are you, you know,
But
that's,
who are we to decide that? How, I don't want you telling me how to work my properties. I don't want to tell you how to work your property. It's, you know, this is America.
But you're also creating vacation places. I mean. maybe
People
some
that
just
spend
want-
money.
Maybe they just want to visit. They don't want to live here.
no, but I mean, yeah,
So every place here has to be, you have to live in there. You can't come and rent it for a week.
No, I don't think that's where Tom's going with this.
No,
think he's saying that the original intent of the ADUs was for affordable housing
exactly.
and that we're removing that from the potentially removing that from the market and replacing it with short-term housing. No,
So the ADU is designed either to be adjoined to a structure, or it can be in a separate structure, like above a garage or something like that. But it's not a separate unit. All on its own.
What do you mean by that? It is a separate unit.
Of the garage. It's not connected.
It's called
well, it's
additional.
not a freestanding separate dwelling.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm.
And I think that's where,
Well, it could be in a. As
well,
long as
except
it's
for you
not,
can't
over-
have more than one dwelling on a lot.
but the 700 square feet, the additional, we did that when we first started this ZAC committee. Can have up to 700 square foot additional unit on the property.
Detached?
I thought, no, it was part of,
Not a living,
That's
you
the
can't live in
in-law.
it.
Yeah.
That's the in-law thing. Yeah, well, it's the same thing.
Same
It's an
thing.
additional dwelling unit.
Exactly.
You can actually,
It's not,
Yeah,
it's
you
not a
can't-
separate unit.
yeah, because you can't have a kitchen in it and I mean, there's
I think you can.
no, and that's part of the problem. And that's what the ZAC committee needs to tackle next time. And we really do need to tackle it.
But in-laws can't have a kitchen?
Nope.
Really?
Thank you.
Oh, here he comes.
The voice from beyond.
Hoping to stay out of it.
Yeah. Hiding in the back row.
Accessory dwelling unit, a dwelling is a dwelling unit, which we classify as eating, sleeping, cooking, bathing.
Right.
So a dwelling unit or an accessory dwelling unit is allowed to have a full kitchen, is allowed to do that.
Yes.
Now, in every zone, with the exception of the Lakeshore Residential Zone, we allow them in accessory structures or in the primary structure. But they can be no more than 30, the floor space of the ADU cannot exceed 35% of the floor space of the primary dwelling on the lot. So
That
you're,
it's attached to.
it doesn't, it's only in the Lakeshore Residential Zone is it required to be attached to the primary dwelling. In the rural zone, rural residential, the other zones, it can be, like Tom said, in an accessory structure, i.e. a garage, apartment over a garage or something of that
But
along
it
with that.
can't be its own structure.
It cannot be its own separate structure.
Right.
But it can be a full dwelling unit. So it can,
So I'm confused. It has to be over a garage. That makes it it can be separate, but as long as it's over a garage.
yeah.
It can be in a barn?
Yeah, the idea is not to create another whole separate house on the lot. Okay, because if you just build it up and have it as a full, you got another separate, it's another another home, another house. So the way that we crafted this, and we did this since I've been here and I was involved with that.
Yeah.
So it was made so that there could be, it's accessory, it's accessory to the primary home. Accessory means subordinate to, not as big as, can only be there because the house is there.
Right. And it has to be, like I say, what.
There's size restrictions.
But it has to be over a garage. That's what I'm.
Right. Well, yes,
It could be next to the,
The garage.
you cannot have it without the garage.
Yeah.
But or the barn or what the accessory structure. You can't
right,
have it
and you
without
can't, you
that.
can't have a garage this big and accessory dwelling that big.
And you can't now,
No, what I'm saying is, okay, here's my house.
yep,
I can't just have an accessory unit here without a garage. It has to have a garage.
it has to be in an accessory structure, which normally is a garage or a barn. Is considered accessory to a single family dwelling or a primary dwelling unit. So if you've got, if you've got a garage attached to your house and you want to put the ADU over there and it meets the standards, great. It's attached. If your garage is 50 feet away or whatever, and you want to put it over that, you're allowed to do that.
Now, what happens if you have a house with a breezeway and a garage and you want to just change the garage over to a dwelling?
No.
No, okay.
That's, yeah.
No, I was just.
Yeah, no, and that's a good question. And that's a viable.
That's good. I asked that about 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
But and as I was saying, though, this is one of those things that we need to dig,
Polish it up.
yeah, and with Zach, because I think that that's a loss to our affordable housing.
Then
And I understand the purpose behind it, the regulations in place, but I think they need a little tweaking.
Yeah, and I don't think we should need to confuse this additional dwelling unit to affordable housing on scattered lots.
Right.
They're two different
That's a whole
balls of
different
wax.
beast.
And the reason I separated out that I mentioned that in every zone but the Lakeshore Residential, and the Lakeshore Residential, when made, it's said that the accessory dwelling unit has to be attached to and part of the primary dwelling unit. And the idea was to minimize scatter on these lots, and there's a variety of other requirements in order to do it, but it has to take on the appearance that look like the single family home. So you drive by, it doesn't look like someone cobbled another unit on the end of it. They're incorporated in. If there's a stairway to get to it, it's around, not in view. To try to preserve the character of the Lakeshore Residential Zone.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Make you get away.
So, so obviously, now that we've got our education on these ADUs, I guess I want to get a temperature from the board about forwarding this, as it's written.
Yeah, with Jessica cleaning up the green things and things like that. Yeah.
Right,
I'm good
but
with that.
specifically on this item where Jessica has made her argument and point about the affordability and such, and losing some potential long-term rental. I just wanted to make sure the board fully understood that was the argument being made against this, and whether or not they felt that was valid or want to stick with allowing these accessory dwelling units to also be used as short-term rentals. So
I'm confused. So where are we with that?
Well, we're going to talk about it right now. That's what we're doing.
yeah. So,
Jessica said
so-
she doesn't like that idea because she feels it should not go to the ADU. I mean, not to the short-term rental.
Right. And
No.
my reasoning for that, it comes directly from section 319, which is accessory dwelling unit standards, and it's within that first paragraph that talks about ADUs being put in place to provide economic support for resident families of limited income. And that's just where I'm coming from.
Okay, but to fulfill that argument, short-term rentals is going to give them more economic relief than long-term.
It's not economic relief, it's housing relief.
No. Economic relief was the reasoning. So it supports the reasoning, and
Right.
that may not have been the intent, but it does support the reasoning that's written in the regulation. So I guess I'm going to go back to it that I feel that as written, which permits short-term rentals in ADUs, should remain. And that's how we should recommend it to the selectmen. And anybody else feel otherwise or have anything more to say about that, or
Well, it won't go to the selectmen until after the public hearing.
after the public hearing? I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. So,
It doesn't go to the selectmen.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Well-
I'm off on a different tangent here. That was something else.
That's all right.
So before go to recommend this to go to public hearing and then eventually go on to March.
I think the selectmen oversee all the warrant articles that go in there. So I think saying going to the selectmen is not an inaccurate statement.
I would like to speak on the opposite side, which is I feel that the concept of the short-term rental is something that you would have whether it's part of your house, whether it's your house itself. But the ADU was designed for a different usage. And I think that they, you're saying that you don't want somebody to tell you how to reuse your property, but on the other hand, the reasoning behind these was a whole different purpose. And what it is all it's going to mean is everyone's going to want to build a short-term rental just so that they can have an extra structure to rent. And that's,
Is that a bad thing?
I don't know. In some places, I don't want to see a whole
You know,
lot more
and I-
building.
I think Tom too, also, when this original ADU was developed, the short-term rental really wasn't a thing at that point.
No, it wasn't.
And now it is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a huge thing right now.
it's a huge thing. It may fall apart
Well,
eventually.
no,
don't
but I
know.
mean, some of the requirements in here, which I think that are really excellent, will limit it. I mean, you have to have basically a manager if there's nobody there. You have to, there's some requirements. You have to have inspections.
We understand that and we've gone over
Yeah.
that and the selectmen's rep, they understand that's gonna be part of that permit process.
Yep, no, I mean, it's better to have a permit process, that's
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Than the free for all
Well,
we have now.
the reason we thought about it for the permit process is because if this is all done and everybody just thumbs their nose at us,
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't have any teeth. Well, the Board of Selectmen with the permit process have teeth.
yes, they sure do.
End of story.
Okay, so,
I mean, I'll go along with anything,
Oh.
but I wanted to express a different point of view, that's all.
That's why we're here.
anybody else, any other thoughts? All right, moving along.
That's gone.
No, we'll have a public hearing that
Hearing.
will be scheduled once we're done kind of sorting through all of this. So. Yeah, there will be an opportunity in a public session. So any others?
Not in number one, no.
Okay. Kind of felt that as a jab.
Check your ribs.
How about number two?
Huh?
See any green on number two?
Oh, it's already done. There's no more green the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So if anybody has anything glaring, I think we should move this along and move us along.
The only thing I didn't see in, where are we? I'm on page 6. And it applies over on page 7 as well. Under the different zones, you're talking about the area for lots. Nobody, and people are talking about whether you have town water or not town water, but it's not mentioned that you have to have your own space for septic. So 15,000 feet is not a lot of space for septic.
I think you're not seeing that. That's with water. 15,000 square feet is.
Yeah,
with
but
water.
still, that's a. Oh,
You brought him out of the hole again.
I'm sorry, John.
That's already addressed in each zone.
Right.
Okay,
It's not here, but.
It's not here,
If you go to. the
I'm just
zoning
thinking of
ordinance,
somebody
look,
reading it, that's all.
In each zone, it says it shall be serviced by a septic system or disposal system that's approved by the state. And that was another change that we made to make sure that was in each zone.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We did it with the cabins and the,
But that is already in the zoning ordinance. It's just.
fine, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Don't leave.
And the rest is basically rewording. Clarifications.
Yep.
Now, is this I know you've got this, I think, listed later in our. Yeah, under correspondence for the board's information, because I know that we talked about including the that recent RSA.
The religious thing?
Yeah, and we decided that we are not going to address it within.
Right, we decided to just leave it be.
Leave it be and
Let the
see
dust
how-
settle with the state
Yeah.
first, basically.
Yeah.
And then we can react from there.
Right, because if you change it and the state changes it back,
We'll be like a
Now the
cat
town
chasing our
goes
tail.
out. Right.
It's gonna be awful.
right,
So at this point, we need to make a motion to advance this to
Public
a
hearing.
public
We need to
hearing.
make a decision on number 1, section 6.
Well, I thought we beat that one to death.
Yeah.
No,
So-
but don't you have to make a motion to?
No, we don't. No,
Accept
See
it.
if we're gonna change it.
we're gonna clean it up. Get rid of all the
Okay,
green.
okay.
yeah, it's just gonna stay the way it is.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to have the 2022 through 2023 amendments to the zoning ordinance moved to the public hearing.
On,
Okay.
Well,
Thanks, Jess. Hold on, Jessica's gonna give me a crib note here.
We need to amend it to include the attorney's language under the section 365.
So included.
I'll second that.
Okay, now, the only thing we're gonna add to it is the date.
Yeah, we need to
So-
pick a date.
so that would be the regular planning board meeting on December 20th.
Okay, that's the date,
That's the
December
date.
20th.
All right, so we have a motion from Scott, a second from Tom.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Roger?
I'm on page 6, top of the page. Residential rural zone. Special exceptions. I'm not quite, I don't quite understand what that whole paragraph and what that's all about, what that's saying to us.
If you look on the middle of page 7,
Well, I did, I read over there too.
the purpose of this amendment is to further clarify the required minimum land area required per structure for various applications. This amendment makes no changes to current regulations. So it's the clarity of what is important.
I'm confused.
Read
Okay, so-
You're at the top of page 6.
I'm at the top of page 6. You skipped over to
So-
page 7 down the middle.
Okay,
Right,
so,
because it-
so hang on, let
All of
Jessica,
them.
hang on, Tom, let
So
Jessica
Roger,
explain
I would
this.
go to page 5. So that the top of page 6 is the latter half, which is on page 5. It's amendment number 4. So amendment number 4 creates new sections entitled special exceptions. It cleans things up because there are some things that are combined in some zones.
Amendment number 4. I don't see an amendment number 4.
See the double lines going across?
Yep.
See double lines.
Amendments at
So
the end,
page
before you
5, right in the
end of this.
lower 1/3.
Oh, there, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So what is that saying?
So
To make an amendment telling you to go look somewhere else?
So in these 3 zones, recreation service, rural and residential rural zone, there are special exception requirements and they're noted in that table of uses.
Yep.
But in these zones, it didn't tell you to go to the table of uses to see that there are additional requirements for special exceptions. Like,
So that's
like
all
it-
that is telling you to go and look at the.
Yeah,
table.
this hasn't changed anything in the
Correct.
tables.
It's housekeeping.
right.
It's just telling you where to go to find it.
Because there, in the other zones, there are sections for special exceptions that tell you to go to the table of uses. These zones did not tell you to go there.
So if you read the rationale portion of it, which is at the top of page 6, right underneath where you were
Yeah,
highlighting.
it says it doesn't change anything, yeah.
It's just making the language consistent throughout. all of
Across
this.
all the zones.
We've been doing that for quite a while.
Hope I don't find any more.
I bet you do.
Right, you clear on that?
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Any other discussion? So we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. All
Can I
right,
just get who motioned and seconded?
Scott and seconded by Tom. All right. Next on the agenda.
P
Floating
2232.
in there.
That was what she discussed earlier. That was stuck in there, but to pay Tara, that's all that was.
That's in the end.
Yeah, it got stuck in this one. I came across it in this
Yes,
back too.
right, because this one
Put
had
it
to
at the
do
bottom of the
with
file.
the zoning stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so next up, case P 22-32. Prospect Mountain Survey agent for Lee A. Hillsgrove,
And then I
Trust.
recuse myself.
revocable trust
Have fun.
owner. So Lee is leaving the table and going to the audience. This is for a final minor subdivision. Map 2, lot 13 on Dudley Road, subdivide into two lots of record, basically breaking off a 5-acre lot.
Have some of Butters.
33 of them.
Three pages more like.
Too many.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of them there.
All right, so first we get a check for completeness. Jessica, did you note any? We
So for.
have some waiver requests, right?
Yeah, so for the completion items, there was no utilities plan, a separate utilities plan map, but they're shown on the subdivision and topo plans. There's no separate soils map, but the soils are shown on the topo plan. The checklist indicates and not applicable for road and driveway profiles and that driveway site distance analysis. And then, of course, there are the sample deeds that would need to be provided.
Yeah, which we can deal with certainly deeds later.
Yeah, it's really not a good place to have that deed thrown in there because it's just way too early, and it's the way I see it.
This has got that unusual, this is the one that has that waiver request from the
Wetland setback.
wetland setback.
Right, that can be addressed after completeness.
Look pretty good, right?
Yeah, these items, the board usually allows it to be on
Yeah.
the topo or subdivision plans, so.
Mr. Chairman, case P 22-32. I move to accept the application as complete.
All right, so we have a motion from Scott. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Bill. Any comments, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. All right. We should take a look at these, at the waivers. waiver requests. So the first waiver request, Roman numeral 7D 1.B requires a complete boundary survey. They're requesting a waiver for the entire parcel,
I have no problem with that.
which is massive.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and we have to remember with these new regulations, we got to find all the right wording, right?
It would be onerous to do the whole thing and unnecessary for the proposed point.
Strict conformity would pose an unnecessary hardship. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what he said, I
That's
think.
what I heard too. All right. So was that a motion, Tom?
Yes, it is.
right.
Second,
And second by Scott, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next one, Article Roman numeral 7D1, lowercase c1. Existing and proposed lot lines requesting a waiver for showing the entire parcel. They have surveyed the area of the proposed lot.
Ditto.
So again, Tom is making a motion based on strict conformity of the regulations would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant.
second,
Scott has seconded that. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? None. Next item, Article 7D1, lowercase c4, existing and proposed survey monuments. All monuments around the proposed lot have been surveyed. And again,
Is that true or not?
What's that?
Have they been surveyed?
around the proposed lot.
The two in the back have not been set yet. But we found all the other corners.
Tom?
I would say the same thing, as long as the back two are placed, I have no
Well,
problem.
that's conditions precedent,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll second Tom's motion.
And would also require to be shown on the drawings as such. So, okay, so we have a motion from Tom, second from Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next one, Article 7D1 lowercase g, all showing all jurisdictional wetlands, only the delineated, they are only delineated on the proposed lot.
That's all we need at the moment.
I'll second Tom's motion.
I don't see enough slope on the map so that I would say that there's no need for 7D1.N. It would be a burden to do it because there's nothing to show.
Okay, did you just jump ahead?
Yeah, we're doing G now.
Yeah, we're doing G. So again, we're kind of sticking with the same reasoning behind each one of these.
Yes, we
So you
are.
have a motion to grant that waiver. Scott has seconded that motion. Okay, any further discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Gotta ask. None. All right, motion passes. So next one, Article 7D 1 lowercase n, showing all slopes in excess of 25%. He's only shown them on the delineated, only delineated on the proposed lot.
I would say the same thing. It's unnecessary. Be
I'll
burdensome.
second that.
Unnecessary,
that was.
unnecessary hardship,
Yeah.
reasoning, motion by Tom, seconded by Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And last one, Article 7D1 lowercase q, showing all buildings, lot lines, intersecting streets is only shown around the proposed lot.
It shows what is necessary and more would be a burden.
I'll second that.
Seeing a pattern.
Pattern's,
Further discussion?
pattern's gonna stop.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. I think we made it through that. Would you like to give us a quick walkthrough?
Pretty simple subdivision.
Wait a minute, hang on.
So are you guys going to address this wetland, the driveway through the wetland?
I guess I have one question.
Okay, so hey,
Don't get ahead of yourself.
hang on.
Let me explain.
All right.
Your ordinance says you have to show that 25 foot on any wetlands over 10,000 square feet. These two by the driveway are not 10,000 square feet. I show that wetland, cover my butt, in case you ask for it. But
Right, so and I know that I probably should jump right onto that, Jessica, but I kind of wanted to have a little talking session before we jumped onto that. Is that all right? Or,
And well, I mean, it's kind of a moot point now
Well, I guess the
to address,
question,
So-
the waiver if it's under that 10,000 square feet.
so if it's under 10,000, I don't need a waiver.
Correct.
but the question I had was, I can't tell if it was one wetland that has been divided by a road or whether they are two separate vernal pools.
That one on the left side of the road was a man-made pond.
That's,
And the pump and the stuff on the right-hand side is just a low area where it's collecting water.
yeah, but I mean, there's no other way to know except to ask.
Right. There's no culvert connecting the two.
okay, so let's,
The map and you
yeah,
question.
let's just take a time out here and let you have an opportunity to kind of give me the story on what the plan is here. I think it's pretty straightforward, but give you the opportunity to do that. And then I think let's get into the discussions about the wetlands and all of that, if we can.
Well, the reason we're subdividing this is take the trailer off the big lot and he wants to sell that to his son. Other than that, it's like I said, pretty simple subdivision. We made it over 5 acres, so we don't need to deal with the state. Can't say much more than that.
Okay. So can't believe I kept cutting him off just for that short little speech.
Got to keep it short and simple.
So the wetlands you say are under 10,000 feet and I guess we kind of have to take your word for it. I mean, we have a total proposed lot detail. We have 15,465 square feet of wetlands, but you're saying that neither one of these individual bodies.
Well, the
exceed-
one that goes, the long skinny one is the big bulk of it.
But that's under 10,000.
No, I show the wetland setback on that one. This one right here. That wetland right there.
Am I on the right page?
Page.
Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
So
I was focused on these smaller bodies
Yeah.
adjacent to the
Yeah.
driveway.
that wetland on the right around 5,500 square feet.
But it basically is just low lying.
It's just low. It just collects water.
I mean, there technically was a subdivision we had where somebody had driven some equipment and there were some tire ruts. And it qualified as a wetland, as ridiculous as it sounds. And
that's ridiculous.
DES asked me to do an inspection one time. And I went and looked at it and said they're tire ruts, so that they, there are wetlands and they're wetlands.
And there's
Nothing.
signs of reason too.
Yes.
Yeah, they're harder to
you
find
have
these days.
That's
You
it.
haven't seen
If
it.
it's poorly drained soil, it may not be wetlands there, but when that skidder went through there and disturbed all that, it became wetlands.
Because some of the plants that grew there.
Right.
And that's the definition, unfortunately.
And that wetland on the left side, that isn't much bigger than this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's only about 3 feet deep. It was originally just put there because we had ducks at one time.
What good's a duck with no water?
Well, the ones you eat.
Yeah, I didn't say confit.
So, so going through some of the other, comments now that we've kind of gotten through the wetlands thing, we're sorted out with that. Under the plan review, the signature and seal of the certified wetland scientist is missing.
Yeah, but I get that on the final.
Yeah. And then the labeling of the proposed lot.
He's
change
been
that
so
to-
busy, it's hard to nail him down.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Calling it lot A and not -1. And the checklist did not indicate if the property was in current use. Do we know?
I think the trailer was taken out.
Basically 2 acres are taken out because you need at least 2 acres taken out, so there'll be 3 point,
You're gonna be taking the whole thing out, but
well,
you're gonna have to take an additional 2 out.
right.
Okay, so there's.
Because you have to supply that to the assessor.
Right.
Oh, the assessor will figure that out, Harry. Trust me.
Well, no, he said he wanted the figures brought to him,
Oh, okay.
but now we have a herd.
All I get is a bill.
So would you like a note added to the plan regarding current use?
Yes. Yep. And then the lot standards, the requirement of the 3-to-1 ratio.
I'd like to say something about that.
Big parcel.
Okay,
This lot doesn't fall into that. If you look at your regulations, it says 1 acre to 5 acres is 3-to-1. 6 acres to 10 acres is 4-to-1.
ooh,
This is between, it's over 5 acres and under 6. I brought this to the people on the board before to change it, but it hasn't, over a year ago. And I've been waiting to do this for a long time.
I got nothing to say.
You guys follow your regulations to a T,
Yes, we do.
but it does meet, well, which one does it supposed to meet?
It's over 5 acres.
And under 6.
So which
right.
criteria?
So
he's
what
saying
I
criteria?
don't think it qualifies for a subdivision then.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well,
Doesn't fit the records.
I was a little slow on the hitch there. That's gonna be 10 acres to be in current use.
No.
No, but the whole
this-
lot.
Right,
but the rest of-
lot.
Right,
Over.
right now it is, but you're changing owners.
No.
No, they're
You're
gonna-
missing the whole thing. This parcel is coming off the mother lot. So the
So as
mother
long as
lot
Lee-
is,
As long as Lee owns it, it's current use.
But he has to take it out of current use for that 5 acres.
Right.
There's already 2 acres taken out around the trailer.
and the thing about it is it doesn't qualify
Yeah.
to be in current use as 5 acres.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Right.
So when you
Or
go.
over 5 acres, under 6.
Gotta be under, yeah. Change ownership, someone's gonna have to pay
Oh, okay, all right, all
the
right.
3 acres,
That's what I was saying.
right?
Okay. All right. So, so you apparently satisfy our lot standards. So the utilities, the board may require a detailed analysis of existing utilities. I'm not sure that I'm feeling inclined to require.
I don't think we've
such.
ever done it.
Well,
There's already,
it's on the first map there.
Yep.
that's OUI right down across,
Goes right through the wetland.
goes over.
Goes over it,
Goes
Yeah,
over
I
it.
know.
Actually, I think that's OH,
overhead utilities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
OH,
OHU,
yeah. What'd I say?
OIU, operating under influence.
It's a long night.
In Maine, it's DUI.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's already
It
shows,
varies all over the country.
It's DWW.
So we've got the utilities covered driveways, each lot served by a driveway, an existing driveway access is located on this lot.
And looks-
profiles and cross sections are not indicated on the plan. It's an existing driveway.
Right, and there's no telling where another driveway would be on the big parcel, so.
And the site distance analysis is indicated as not applicable.
Well,
Well,
I do show it on
Existing
the plan.
driveway. Oh, do
Under
you?
the pros law details, I show the total road frontage, the wetlands, and also the site distance, 300 feet plus both ways.
pretty darn straight piece of road right there.
Yep, I see that note.
Oh, is it noted? Is that why I was looking
It's
for it
well,
down?
right in the middle. Proposed lot details shows site distance on.
Oh, yeah.
2 of 3. Sorry, I missed that.
Yep, beautiful. I was looking for it at the driveway.
Okay, next time.
Next time I'll know where to look. Okay, and then the subdivision regulations for monuments. You're all set with those?
That's,
He just has to set the 2 out back, he said.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, I do have to set the 2 in the front also.
Okay,
So,
And those are probably going to be granite bounds. Or concrete. Right? You allow concrete,
yeah, I think we decided we would allow concrete. Yeah,
because I can get those made with a rebar right in the middle.
no,
Yeah, it says granite or concrete.
yeah, a lot easier.
because those
to
wooden
find.
ones just don't last that long.
Well, we do if you dig down and find them.
No, I mean, I know where the one for New Durham and Alton is,
That's
right near
wood?
us. It was wood
wow.
but I know where it is. It just, it ain't there.
Was brainstorm, was it to put a wooden one in there?
That's
That's what
called,
they used 200 years ago. Is that a town line, Mel?
it's, yeah, because it's just away from, Wolfboro line too. We have all 3 come together in East Alton.
They did stake and stones, and they would drive just back 200 years ago, they just cut a tree down.
Yeah.
Pound that sucker in and then pile stones.
It was
in it.
about a 7-8 inch diameter.
Yeah, if you dig down far enough, you will find remains of it.
All right, so departmental comments, there were none. No concerns, I should say. Definition of active and substantial development.
Setting the pins.
Yeah,
12 months or 2 years.
12 months.
Sure.
You get those stakes in and that.
And time frame for compliance with conditions precedent. Typically make that 1 year
Yeah.
from the date of this meeting. Subdivision completion and approval expiration, we'll make that 24 months just to have the
Yep.
other end covered. Right, so we have a list of the conditions precedent. We've covered, I think, some of these miscellaneous.
The only thing we haven't done is grant the waiver for the wetland buffer, and we know it isn't necessary.
It is not required, so we're gonna make sure that that's clarified, at least in the meeting minutes. That yeah. I think we've got it covered.
Public.
Did I miss anything
Yeah, public.
besides public?
Nope, I just added that number 7 for conditions precedent to add a note on the plan regarding curtains.
All right, so any comments from public? Hearing none, close the public session.
Mr. Chairman, on case P 22-32, to approve the plan as presented with subsequent conditions, provide the deed, stamp on the wetlands engineer or wetlands current use, and 12 months for substantial.
Oh,
I think Drew said 24, didn't he?
But that's on the plan. That's, you get those 12 months to get the pins in.
Oh, okay.
in 24 months on.
24 months to get everything
Everything done.
satisfied.
Okay.
Did I catch it all?
I think so.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Scott, seconded by Tom. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Right,
the
next-
next one.
Next item on the agenda, case P 2233, Changing Seasons Engineering. Agent for James and Ally Brown. Regarding Moore Farm Lane with a
Hi, Steph.
design review. For major subdivision. So,
So, Mr. Chairman, I just would like to clarify for the board that Damon Burt, who is a certified wetland scientist, did reach out to me today to confirm that he did receive notice, and apparently he didn't have any issues with not being noticed on time, so that's satisfied.
That's good. This has been like, how many years? Several.
The only other item I'd like to address, the last time that this project was here before the board, they were asked to come back with a final application. So now they've come back again with an additional design review, which starts them all over again. So what I don't have for the file is an authorization form authorizing Paul Zesgo to speak on behalf of the applicants and the property owners. It's the only thing I don't have that.
You have it for the previous one? Application?
I do, but my practice is
Yeah,
to not pull
I agree,
information.
I
from
agree with you,
prior
I agree with you,
applications,
but
and I'm not
maybe
gonna
if
start.
they can get that, we can still move forward.
One quick other thing. Do I have to be motion back in?
not motion, but we can
We'll
certainly. announce
acknowledge you
that-
back in.
that Lee is back at the table.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So there is that challenge. So I don't. Paul, are you planning on speaking or?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm here to answer questions out there are.
So you're gonna do that telepathically or? Okay. He's on a roll today.
He really is. So I think if it pleases the board, I think that's fine, that if Paul can not act in a professional capacity so much as.
Yeah, we had talked with the Browns and decided that as the individual that put together the application, that I would be the representative, and Paul said he was going to be here and could answer questions if needed, but.
And I think if there were questions of Paul, the board is still waiting for the report from the town engineer. So you guys don't have any information back from him yet. So there's that as well.
Okay, so you want to kind of walk us through this? We've been through this a year ago.
Better.
Yeah, it's a little while. Yeah, they're just looking to break off a 5-acre piece off of the whole lot. The Moore Farm Lane, the private road that it's going to be accessed from, needed some extension in order to give them proper frontage. That's where it's gonna be accessed from. So those improvements have been made and that's part of what was put down to make that road is shown in here, the cross section of the roadway. It looks like the town engineer is gonna do some further investigation on that.
Look at the we had a profile on this road.
Yep, last page.
Yikes. That's quite the change in elevation there, huh?
Need bigger binoculars, I think. It's 18 feet of grade in what's depicted here.
In 1,000 feet.
Yeah. I'm not seeing the scale on this one.
Station marks, right? Actually, it's less than that.
About 700 feet.
Yeah. And the idea is to extend this road. And I think at some point in time, you went before the select board and they granted a waiver to not have to pave the road.
That's again, something Paul might have a little bit more insight on, because that was before my involvement in the
I know,
project.
I was reading something and there was a thing in here that Ruben made a motion
Yes,
that they did not have to pave it.
Right.
correct.
So in any application that, I think that would have to be addressed. I don't know, is there an expiration date on their granting of those sort of things?
I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of.
Or is the intent to pave it?
No, the intent's not. I mean, everything up from New Durham Road up is just gravel now,
Right,
so
right.
it wouldn't make any sense really for them to start pavement there.
Right.
They could, but so no, the intention is not to.
Okay.
I had a concern just because it's not noted anywhere in this new application that took place, that's all.
So you would be looking for mention of the waiver or what the road
Yes.
will be surfaced with?
No, yeah, mention of the waiver. Would
Okay.
needs to
You
be-
should probably mention what the surfaces are on the roadway too, whether it be just gravel, ledge pack,
Right.
how much base gravel. That stuff should all be part of that, I would think.
Yep, so this note, note number 2 on the roadway plan profile and cross section.
Yeah, yeah.
Talks about materials, and some receipts. So I think that would be helpful.
Yeah,
For the board to,
It's gonna be a little tougher on this one because they're not gonna get waste slips like they would an asphalt plant. They're gonna get yardage probably
Right.
from a
That's
hauler
they- right.
or
they have
taking off
that.
their own stuff.
They have, that's what it is, and some of it was taken from the site, so it's
Right.
not. You know, if somebody does the math, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be 1-to-1 because some of it was taken right on site.
And materials from on-site to on-site do not fall under 155E either. They can use as much gravel from whatever they want to do as long as it stays on site.
So just so I'm kind of getting my head caught back up here, this is the road that was built without any approvals. And the actual work was executed by the former
Family members.
Road agent.
road agent.
Ken Roberts worked up there? I didn't think Ken did.
so to clarify that. he-
Kenny inspected it.
Ken Roberts did not work on the road.
Correct.
He advised them.
Yeah.
If I'm correct with that, I believe that's what took place.
So at this stage of the game, the town engineer is going out and he is doing some
He's-
evaluations
he's
on the
reviewing-
construction of the road.
He's reviewing the plan.
Yeah,
And so he's going to provide his findings and give his guidance and recommendations to the board as to what the board should require and sort of how to move forward Maybe he might want test pits. I don't know what he's going to recommend. And what he's gonna want to see in order to, provide a proper recommendation. I'm not sure.
Well, I think that's when I first came on the board, didn't, so-called original owner that put that road in there said Kenny was there at each lift and then inspected it, and he had something from Kenny.
I don't have anything in writing from Ken.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing anything in writing, and I just recall the road agent being involved. I don't remember to what capacity, but I think that the point was is you just can't go building roads.
No, I realize that,
Yeah.
but I mean, I thought Ken had gave so-called landowner.
He just gave him instruction.
Yeah, yeah, this one, you want this much of this gravel and this much of this. That's probably what he did. I would guess. That's what I would do.
I believe so.
Do bore tests at the time, the original owner?
I don't know
So,
if it's done. I mean, I don't think anything's been provided to the board.
so no borings have been done on the road at all.
Which
So that-
which
that-
engineer is reviewing it?
Dana Huff, Ty and Bond. Yep,
Okay.
so I think just,
Wait till we see that.
yeah, right.
All right, and then I had a question on. Oh, they're all sheet 1 of 1. We should number those. The 1, 2, 3, 4th page, which has the drip line infiltration trench
Sure.
drawing. And I guess I'm not crystal clear where that's going. I have a suspicion, but
It's right beside the roadway,
yeah, that was my suspicion.
kind of like an under drain, but not under, but it's beside.
Right, to help
What's
move
the-
that away faster, I'm assuming.
What are your where is what going to be located?
The drip line infiltration trench.
That'll be underneath the eaves of the house, basically.
Oh, that's just underneath the eaves of the house. Oh,
Oh,
see, I thought it was
really?
going next to the driveway.
Well, that's,
There's drip line infiltration trench.
yeah,
There is, I'm sorry.
There.
yep.
And
That'll be the intention of that is to, keep stormwater from the house from running. off.
okay, so where does that go? All that water you're collecting?
I mean,
Groundwater recharge, right?
Yeah, it's pretty decent soils out here, mostly that. If they end up, some people will just daylight it out somewhere as well, so.
Got enough
What?
elevation today.
There's not much sense in the infiltration trench. Just saying.
Well, for extra, for the big storms.
Yeah,
You get
yeah.
some, but
So is it going to be daylighted, or is the thought that this is going to be able to perk out just in the volume of the area that it has?
I'm thinking that, there should be able to do that. I haven't done really in-depth calculations on that necessarily, if that's something that we want moving forward as far as.
I don't think
that.
I don't think.
They're gonna have
in-depth
foundation, they're gonna have
calculations are
foundation drains, 99% chance they're gonna have foundation drains, and that'll be
Yeah.
more of an impact than this drip line will be.
I think that if the intent is to daylight it, it should be indicated.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep.
Okay,
So-
sure.
Yeah, I don't think you need to go crazy on
Oh,
engineering
yeah, the
stuff.
calculations?
Yeah.
No.
So, Mr. Chairman, your comment about the sheet numbers,
Yes.
so were you talking about having them sheet 1, sheet 2,
Which, yeah, sheet 1 of
3, 4, 5?
6,
5?
2 of 6, 3 of 6, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
I like
however
that.
many there are, 5.
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of the clear titles too, and I think that we've got clear titles on all of these. Except for maybe that infiltration one, the last two drawings. Sorry, the changing season drawings. Can you, is the intent to keep this all as a packet together with Paul's drawings and your drawings?
That was how I did it. I should have fixed the page numbers for the last two to be 1 of 2 and 2 of 2 probably.
Paul, can you share your title blocks with her?
Well, we got two different companies.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not the name, just the block. You know, and the only reason I say that is it
I mean, I can modify mine if there's things on it.
or
that
yeah,
you would
just to
want that
tweak it to be shaped a little. Just one of those things that drives me crazy on my drawings that I have to go through at work.
Just a
Want to
little
be able to
bigger.
find them?
Yeah, and that way the name of the sheet is in the same place on each drawing. You know, what the title is of that drawing is in the same place, and the numbers are all in the same place.
Okay, sure. No, I can change that. For this,
Yeah,
that's
that'd be
fine.
great.
If Paul's a bigger text too, it's easier to read.
It is,
There's that.
His plans, yeah.
You'll understand soon enough, Stephanie, why we need bigger numbers.
And you know, in this case, I think I don't know if there's on the drawings anywhere, and I apologize if they are, but the utilities, because I think where we are kind of pushing out the end of the road, kind of knowing where the poles are and where future poles may go. I think
Okay.
are worthwhile,
Sure.
at least your intent. I mean, we all know the utility companies do whatever they want to.
Yeah, no, I know the existing poles are shown on here somewhere and then,
Don't need to get an easement also.
They may have a blanket easement already to that property because there's a lot of stuff going on in that property. So check with the co-op and see if they need a blanket easement because I'll give Paul the name of the guy to co-op to get it together with you.
Inside trade.
Right, and then, so there are gonna be a bunch of waivers that we'll be reviewing at the time. One of them was that utilities plan map, but I think getting something basic in there, I mean, at least is gonna help along those lines. The fire protection plan map. That's more of an insurance company requirement, I would think, but.
Yeah, we don't do that at all.
Drainage plan map, you almost are there already with the,
Culvert and
yeah, the culvert, the driveway slope and, you know, and then.
grass
the,
swale.
Perimeter drain, showing the daylight, if that's where we're going with all that. Soils report, I think you covered some soils.
it's just shown on the plan. There wasn't, nobody went on the ground and did a formal soils report for it, which I don't know if that's usually what you look for or not.
I think if we have two different kinds of soil, just indicating where those appear, but in this case, you have
Which is shown in,
Chichester and Pillsbury, which is almost the same bloody thing. Isn't it?
Well, I'd say the 647B is a poorly drained soil, just guessing.
The other thing I would say would be the percentage of wetland to dry land.
Got the slopes on there.
Yeah.
I can't understand that. Is that something man-made?
I don't know.
I mean, it's the strangest looking
Yeah, it's right next to a wetland. Little flag there. the little-
25% slope. I don't understand it.
You gotta remember 25% is really that much. So one.
Right.
Right, but I mean, the shape of,
Septic systems are 3 to 1.
but the shape of that is just so weird.
This is a steep area.
Is that
Is what?
so? When I was first looking at this, I was trying to understand that line.
That's the soil line. It separates the two soils.
The dotted line? Yeah, that's the,
Yeah, line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the soil line.
647B and the 440.
All right, okay, yep, I got you now. Cause it shadows onto this drawing and I'm like, what the heck
that's
is
the,
that?
you gotta read the little text beside the thing that it's hard to read because it's so little. Vegetative buffer strip.
Got it.
That
All
is.
right. Was there anything else, Jessica, that jumped out at you or?
Not really. I don't think, I don't have much more to contribute. Right now, I'm curious to see what the town engineer comes up with and what he suggests.
That's saying, yeah.
Yeah, how do we have any idea on the timeline for the town engineer and his report?
I know that he's currently working on it.
So,
They just dropped off the funds for the escrow account, I believe like on Friday or something. That's what we were waiting for him to start.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean,
Protocol.
my recollection, that was the biggest hurdle was that whole, the road.
yeah, you think?
Yeah. Elephant in the room. Okay,
Right, because other than that, I mean, it's just like a normal minor subdivision. Just
Two lot
complicated
subdivision.
things with including a road.
all right, all right, so I think once we get over that big hurdle, I think we're in pretty good shape.
So continue to the December 20.
Yeah, well, this was just the review.
Oh,
right?
that is, okay, that's right. So nothing. So
Yeah.
when they make their application, they make their application.
Yeah, so did you get all of those recommendations
I
and
think so. Did you
suggestions?
mention something about upland versus wetland?
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, it looks 50-50.
Yeah,
Just of
so
the
it's
whole lot.
80,000 square feet of upland to the 200 and something thousand square feet of overall lot size, so.
75% of the minimum lot area.
Yeah,
That comes out to 65,000 square feet of upland you have to show.
So, Mr. Chairman, my recommendation to the board would be to continue the design review phase based upon the fact that you have no information from the town engineer. So for her to come in with a
That's-
final
that's my
application,
question is what are we
yeah.
gonna do about-
So for them to come in with a final, there's no real room
To do
for-
that.
For wiggling anything.
Yep.
So
So the moment we get the report forwarded to her,
absolutely.
so,
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to continue the design review stage of this application, not application, the design review, to the December 20th planning board meeting.
okay, motion by Scott,
I'll second.
seconded by Bill. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Sure.
I mean, this is a design review. You're gonna get comments back from the engineer. Once he gets those comments, why don't you do the file and make those comments, changes, file to file? Without another design review.
makes sense.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that either.
If it comes within the filing time, that's the only part.
Does that make sense to you? I mean, yeah, as long as all of it is received in time for proper filing.
That may be the hardest part.
I was gonna say, that's. like-
Is that you have like a
Like
week,
2
of-
weeks,
you have a
isn't it?
week, a week of 10 days. That's about all.
It's just, you're gonna be going now for 2 meetings, possibly 3.
Right.
Now, if you have your engineer's review and she makes all those changes and you agree to them, we're only gonna be doing 1 more.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think as long as the timing on it is such that it gets submitted in time for,
Well, the town engineer has about 2 weeks, I think they said that they were gonna review, right? So by the time they get that back, am I even gonna have any time to put anything together before that? Or can we continue until January?
But you'll be filing for a final application.
We don't know, but do you want to amend your motion?
Well, I'd be happy to, but I just don't know if what Stephanie just said is this is 2 weeks for the engineer to get back. They're gonna miss
Well, if he has the
The December
paperwork-
meeting.
the paperwork now, It
He
could
just,
be-
he just received his check, so I don't presume he probably did much.
Application, why does timing matter?
It doesn't.
So I'm not sure that that motion was even needed, really, because this was just a design review. And we're sending them away with, these are the suggestions and the recommendations and the requirements. And one of those requirements are, we need that engineer's information.
Okay,
Or fine.
for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they have
That
to,
gets, so the town engineer's report regarding stormwater drainage and all that stuff gets reviewed at design review.
I guess are you guys going to review that and make recommendations on that, or just whatever the town engineer says goes?
pretty much that? I mean, we have the ability to ask for something more, but
but it gives you something, he has the engineering.
yeah, we're not an engineer, so I mean.
No, of course. But that's my question is, do we need to come back on the 20th and look at that together so that you guys can decide what you really want from it? Or just whatever he says, you guys are gonna say, yeah, do it. And then we can
Probably
incorporate
that's-
it into final. review.
Probably that's the way it will roll, to be honest with you, but
I think you can also come in and look at it and talk to Jessica.
Drainage.
Yeah, no,
plan,
of course, yep.
Stormwater,
Okay.
all this stuff gets submitted. at
Design
design.
review is just getting you.
That's all I'm just-
Really.
that's all.
Now that
You
we've
guys
got
can do that.
them, we can address them, and they come in for file.
Well, you guys. Decide how you
I'll
wanna go.
rescind my motion if that's necessary.
I think that they, which try to get the
That's what I
information
said.
to them as fast as
Did they pay-
possible. And
they pay for
if
the-
we can admit,
Design review, is
So
there a
the-
charge to the design review to notify butters or not?
no, butters aren't notified.
So there's no,
Right,
They were.
I was just wondering if they were,
Yeah, yeah.
abutters
okay.
are notified, so you have to officially continue. or
okay,
whatever
that's
you
my
have to
point.
do
If we
for-
don't continue it, then you have to renotice for the design review phase. You're gonna have to make a new application when you do your final.
And they get notified again.
They get notified again.
Mhm.
So let's put it this way, why don't we leave the design review in place? If for some reason you don't need it, you just don't need it.
And just submit the
I mean,
application.
Jessica, you have that latitude, don't you? I mean, if you get the data there that looks like you've got what we're asking for.
So
Oh, that's not up to me.
yeah,
I
so
don't have that authority I don't. Yeah.
as part of our design review process, and this is what Jessica was pointing out, that we are supposed to be reviewing the drainage plan map, erosion sedimentation control plan, stormwater management plan, roadway and driveway profiles and typical cross sections. So all of that should be part of the design review before it goes into the final. And that was her point. So
Right, because you haven't had a chance to review that. So if you were to be done tonight with design review, the board would be recommending to the agents and applicants that the design review phase is done. All of the stuff that you've reviewed, you're okay with, come in with your final application. So that's what you would be advising them, which wouldn't be proper because you haven't had that opportunity to look at anything that the town engineer has recommended. That's all. That's where I'm coming from.
If we continue it, that's what you're.
So if-
Continuing is imperative.
Yeah, so you should continue it.
That's what I'm asking.
Correct.
I think we.
So
need
if
that.
if you
so
We don't have a
end it
choice.
tonight,
Otherwise you have
your
to renotice.
recommendation is,
And it's expensive.
We don't have a choice but to continue.
you know, that would be my recommendation on the safe side, so that
We've
we
done it.
have the opportunity
Done it.
to review
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Will we have the motion before us or have we voted on it yet?
Yes.
Yes.
it's been,
You just would have to, you've motioned, you've seconded, and you voted on it because I wrote past.
Okay.
Right.
That would be it.
Yeah, I think we've beaten this. thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're all set, I think.
right.
Okay, so we'll wait on that report and then we'll. go over
Which
that.
I'm assuming it should be soon because he's already started it. So as I believe as of yesterday. So as soon as I receive that, I will forward it over to you
Sure.
and to Paul.
Open up
you know, the
the
applicant.
plans to how many days before the next meeting?
10?
I guess 10.
Well, it's on the calendar, right? I can look at it.
So I'm sorry, what was the question?
So
Submittals.
now we're waiting on comments from the town engineer. We get them, we make changes to the plans. How many days do we have before this?
So a continued application is 2 weeks before the meeting,
That new plans need to be submitted.
correct? So you
So
have two, you have.
it's a
at
chance
least
you
2
could make it
weeks.
with his,
The 6th.
can be
It's-
tight.
I mean, it depends on what his
Yeah.
comments end up being, I suppose, if it's,
Correct. And then if December 20th comes around, you don't feel like you're,
You can
prepared
request a
enough to.
continuance.
Continuance, exactly.
Yeah.
That will keep you
Yeah.
alive.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to old business master plan committee update. We have the invoice and the overlay map for the proposed future land use and the current zoning map. So the invoice. Getting right down there.
Am I seeing a typo here? In the future land. Okay, so they're looking at getting rid of the residential rural zone. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, so this really wasn't for a discussion tonight, so I wanted to provide this to you guys tonight, so you have a chance to look at it for the workshop that we're having on
Next week.
November 22nd at 6 o'clock. There is a joint workshop between the master plan committee and the planning board committee, and this is kind of like, I think is going to be one of the main points of the night. I think you guys
Point of
felt
contention.
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah,
I think,
I like how she just, yeah, that.
I think that was really the biggest issue. I feel that you guys, really, kept going back and forth.
No, I was.
And increase it. I don't want to, my opinion on increasing things past the state required footages. I'm not buying it because it just makes it difficult. People come in for waivers and they get them every damn time. So what's the sense of making it a pain in the butt to get it? I'll use the well radius as an example
Right. We'll save that discussion
for them. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
next week, Tuesday. There.
Or B square.
So we're still on the master plan thing, so.
Yep.
Big push, well, make sure you read this, so
Yep.
I'm reading, and chapter 6 and 7, not there. Action plan, not there.
Which version are you looking at?
The one I picked up today. That's what I'm looking
I
at.
didn't pick one up. The one that I have.
So the action
Mine in my
plan.
truck.
So the action plan, the committee included it within the document, because that's what the planning board had asked. So in each
End of
section,
each chapter.
it's included within each chapter.
Sections, right?
Correct. It's indicated in blue.
I'll have to look at the one that I.
Yeah, double check, make sure you have a current one.
And I believe that one's like September 27th, I think is that version. It's not on here, but
That's what I've got. I've got the old one.
I
that
think
we had
it's September
A
27th.
couple meetings ago.
If on this future land map, if someone could put the road names on them, like 140 and 28 and Route 11, that way people can see it and understand where they're looking. That makes sense?
People don't know where the roads are.
Well, people might think it's a stream.
Yeah, as a map reader.
So they are looking to increase the commercial.
Yeah.
That's strictly commercial.
So
Boy, the last time we did that, oh boy.
Eliminate residential.
All right.
No.
We'll take this up next week, guys, when we on a workshop and not.
Mr. Cooper's been dying in that chair all night long.
It's just a driveway.
Well, let's move him up, get him done so we can get out of here.
Yeah, well, we're just about there because the next item is new business approval of the meeting minutes, and I'd like to make a motion that we push that off because there were some blanks in there on.
And that-
So moved.
Motioned what?
Yes, I will do my best to try to help massage those a little bit.
Even if you could
I'll try.
identify like
Have help yet?
the minute or
Yes.
the minute that it occurred on the recording, I mean, I would have jumped on it and looked at it that way, but
Yeah, I will try my best to try to fill in some of those blanks.
feel bad that you have to sit through these meetings twice.
Thank you.
Maybe we can offer a root canal instead.
Should take it.
Painful today.
All right, next item under other business is correspondence for the board's review discussion action as case P 22-34. Class 6 building permit request for Justin Jessica Cooper, owners of property located in map 10, blah, 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 Range Road that connects Avery Hill Road to Davis Road.
I know, right? We are
All right.
5 miles to get home.
It's not too bad.
So again, remind me, why is this coming? I thought this was to go to the selectmen
Selectmen.
first.
It always comes before the planning board first
Really?
to give the selectmen a recommendation. There are comments from the highway, police and fire departments.
Yeah, I noticed the most common one was stop calling it Range Road.
Well, there are about 5 or 6
Yeah.
range roads in town.
Right.
Come on.
And there is an
No,
official
it's-
range road behind McDonald's.
There are range road and there are lot line roads.
Yeah,
So this, I presume, would be a range road, not the
Exactly.
one behind McDonald's.
no, exactly. You know, that's why I was reading through it. You know, the fire department doesn't have that experience.
No,
So
The surveyors had that on their thing, so you go back to like the 1800s, it's referred to as Range Road, and if you look at my deed, it refers to the southern boundary as Range Road,
Yeah.
yeah.
but that was probably abandoned before the McDonald's Range Road.
Well, the thing about it is they were all called range roads back then.
The north-south were range, the lots were north-south or the first vice versa.
Yeah, I think east-west on the lot line roads, hence lot line road on 28 south, and then range roads go north and south, I believe.
But I mean, it was the range and lot. That was the way it was divided.
That's why the king divided it out back in the day.
is this a road that the town still owns?
It is, well, yeah, so it's a
It's
class
town-owned
6, so the
property?
town doesn't own it, but the town has the easement or however the class 6 roads work, you know.
It was probably reverted back to
Well-
the center line to the.
Do you know how it was closed?
No,
Because that's what your key. If it's in the town book listed. If it was closed,
Is it in there?
there's a difference between closed and closed subject to gates and bars. If it was closed subject to gates and bars, town still owns the other way. But
Prescription.
if it's closed, that means the 2 landowners come to a point.
And I think that's
that's what we have.
that's
yeah.
what they have.
And that's how it was surveyed, and that's what everything shows, is myself and the abutters on the other side owned the center of it.
Do you have if you can work with the butter?
On the
Do
other
you have any
side.
problem with him wanting the road or not wanting it?
No, and beyond that, I'd gotten permission from the selectmen a year and a half, 2 years ago to maintain it and access my property up that road.
Yeah.
So I've been maintaining it all along, enough to drive my truck up there.
Yeah.
And now I just want to put my driveway off of that road and maintain the whole thing as,
I think you may have to get an agreement with your butter because it technically half the road is his.
okay.
But I would check with
Now it's my understanding that,
town surveyor who did all the roads. Guy who worked with George Christendon. June Clough.
Well, yeah, his
book
his
will-
book.
will
It's quite
record-
extensive.
Yeah, well, we're not reinventing the wheel here. There's plenty of houses built off of class 6 roads.
Oh, right, but I mean, in each case, the way in which the road was closed is a legal definition.
Yeah,
There, so in the highway department's comments, he does note in the Clough books, that section of Davis Road was discontinued at a town meeting in 1912 for winter purposes.
Winter purposes.
and I think what he's talking, so Davis Road, goes up to the farm on the top there, Diane.
And it goes back, traverses back along.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a T intersection up the top, and so I don't know if this was a section of Davis Road. If so, it'd be kind of weird because it would have had a 90-degree corner at the top of it, but
Well, if it was said as it was closed for winter purposes,
That's plowing
could still, yeah, it still could be
or rolling.
an active road. But they just said not to plow it.
It's actually considered a class 6 road.
yes.
That
Yeah.
was another question.
So I think you simply have to find out whether you own to the center or whether the town still owns the right of way.
So
And looking at the Clough book will tell you that.
It should.
I'm a little confused. I'm not understanding here. I don't, you go up Davis Road and that goes right to Diane Loudon's.
Yeah, but you can turn left and go down, traverse the hillside down through.
You mean the snowmobile trail?
Yeah, and mine's on, so if you went to Diane Loudon's and took a right and it'll dump you at the snowmobile trail, dumps you out on Avery Hill Road. That's
So
the
you take a
section
right,
we're on.
so Andrew.
No, that's foreign territory. to me.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the road that you're trying to get a driveway on.
But from the other end,
From the Avery Hill Road.
from the
side.
Avery
Oh,
Hills.
oh, down the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Now, whereabouts does it exit down on Avery Hill?
Down by where that phone, the phone company has a,
The little box.
yeah, and that's the guy that says the,
But is that towards Gilmington from Davis Road or towards Alton?
Towards Gilmanton.
Towards Gilmington,
Yeah.
okay. So past Sue Morse's house?
Yes.
oh, yeah.
Yes, oh, yeah.
Oh, it's,
Down over the.
Past-
oh,
down over the-
it's,
Has no wait zone.
yeah, it's down by the Mill Pond Mill.
Yeah, past.
Pace's Mill Road.
Past Pace's Mill Road, if you're coming from Alton.
I think I know where it comes. It
One
kind
hundred-
of goes off
one
along on
hundred-
an angle.
Yeah, and
It's
if.
before the brook.
There's
Okay.
that real twisty section and drop down over the hill and it's real windy.
And you come out just before the brook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we run into that, Tom, on a piece of our property. And all we had to do was. And I don't know if that still exists now, is we just got written permission from the abutting landowner that he still keeps his right of way, and I don't know if that would suffice.
If we
So-
find out the category and there seems to be any kind of a question, we can check with the town attorney. But the thing is that you don't want to get screwed up on the road and not have it be a road.
All this stuff is in the state archives as well.
Yeah.
But you really got to know where you're looking around when you go there.
Yeah, absolutely.
For reading in the application I had to submit to do this before I can do a building application. There were some notes that mentioned, all class 6 roads are town easements. Everybody has access to class 6 road by foot, not necessarily motor vehicle access. But I got permission, the selectmen granted me permission to access it via motor vehicle and maintain it. So I guess I thought I had already kind of passed, like, okay, I'm allowed to be up there with my vehicles. I'm allowed to maintain the road. Now I just want to tap a little driveway off the side of it.
To build your house.
Can I ask you, do you know when that took place?
I can't remember for sure. I want to say it was like 2 summers ago. I bet it was. I'd have to look. I think it was probably like the spring, summer of 2019. It was a while.
Do you have a
back.
copy of the correspondence?
That's what I was, yeah.
No,
like
it's
copy
so
of the
good.
minutes just to kind of get an idea of what.
I
was
don't,
talked about.
I can find out when it was, because I'm sure I have at least an email as to when the meeting was, and it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, you're good to go. See you later. And
Also, you can go to the town clerk and she could research the old minutes out of the safe.
You want to cover yourself is the main thing, is it?
Hmm.
If by chance, for argument's sake, okay, it was closed and the abutter owns half the road.
Yeah.
And the land transfer and the new landowner doesn't like the idea, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
So you want to cover yourself and find out what you have. We're not trying to hold you up.
Yeah, well, no, so and obviously this part of it is just so I can get a building permit, so I can get the power company up there, so I can figure out how that's gonna work and I can.
Because they won't come until you have a foundation in the
I
ground.
can't do a thing until, I can't get a building permit till they say, okay, yeah, you can build on it. So we gotta just,
Well, he mentioned, Tom, that you said it was subdivided. I mean, the survey line goes right down the center of the road.
there were pins in the center of the road that they had placed
So
there,
that would
whether
tell
they
me
used. them-
automatically that I'd be getting permission from the
Guy across the street.
guy across
Well,
the street.
But I mean, then still, do you have to? You have to get the selectmen to lay out the road?
If a class 6 road probably already has a
It's
layout.
not a class 6 road if it's gone back to the middle. It's no longer a road.
Right,
Yeah.
property.
So I'm just trying to protect him.
Wait, what? I feel
Yeah,
like
but-
Road now, he made it.
What I'm trying to say is he should get, if they both own to the center of the road, whether it's a road or it's property, he still should get written permission
Yeah.
because you're gonna be on half of that guy's property.
Yeah.
That's what we had to do, put in a road where we had a sawmill. They owned the half, we own the half, and we got written permission and recorded and all that stuff to get up in there to cover our butts so that he didn't turn around and go, yeah, we'll get, that's fine, and then after you do it, go,
Yeah.
I
You
never gave him the okay.
need to
The
get your
book that
ducks
I
in a
was
row because
talking
things
about, I'm not
change.
sure where this book called the Clough
Yeah.
Book on Notes.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
There, Bill?
June Clough went through and recorded every single mention of any town road, any way up or down or whatever, at every town meeting the town ever had.
Yeah.
So you can find the information, whether it's clear enough, if it simply says that, it was closed for winter travel, that, unless you can translate that properly.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm gonna move to allow him to build on a class 6 road pending the legal opinions.
Yeah.
That way it can move.
For his own protection, I encourage you to check out as much information as you
Where
can.
can I find this clock book?
It's downstairs.
Is it here or is there another copy over at the town, at the department?
No, the copies are here at Town Hall.
So there's a copy here with the town clerk or?
I believe
Or
they're
John?
located up here somewhere with administration,
Okay.
Okay,
the last time I saw them.
guess that's where I'm going.
So the deputy fire chief kind of asked a silly and obvious question, is there any opportunity to come off of Avery Hill?
Oh, yeah, so he was looking at an old tax map and didn't realize that we had subdivided sections of it and out of the question, really. So it would mean crossing a bunch of wetlands to get to the most buildable part of it. He met with me over there yesterday and we walked it. He was supposed to send me an email. I didn't know if he had sent it to Jessica. Because once he walked it with me and we looked at it and I said, what do you need for your trucks and what, bypasses and a turnaround at the top? We laid out a pretty easy game plan. It requires very little changes and not a lot of improvements. And he was happy with it. I'm expecting he'll send an email eventually here.
Yeah, the only email I have from him was Monday, October 31st.
Yeah.
That was the info I sent you.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Yeah, once he walked it with me, really, and saw it was, you could drive a truck up it right now. We have been, but he was on board and we went over what he would like to see changed.
Okay, that would have been helpful to
easy.
have tonight.
Yeah, it's just really suspicious on the town map because it is showing this solid line running right up the middle of the dotted line of the range road.
Yeah.
But there are a bunch of class 6 roads that have been built on. You can drive on a couple of them to see what people have done to bring them up. In
yeah.
classification.
Yep. Yeah, and this one's pretty easy. It's Dalton, it's rocky.
Waiting for a second on my motion.
Yeah, so just, yeah,
Is
I
it
want,
culverts and-
I wanted to get to that. So there is a motion on the table and we,
Hasn't been seconded.
and it has not been seconded. Can you just repeat the motion? So-
Sure, I'll try. That was a few minutes ago.
I know.
I think he said start building with this.
Yeah, pretty much. Mr. Chairman, on this case, I don't know where it is.
22-34.
Thank you. Is to allow the property owner to build on a class 6 road, subject to all legal hurdles being cleared. That pretty well.
So from our point of view, you need to protect
We
yourself.
just want to get it to the select.
I gotta figure, yeah, exactly. I gotta figure out if we got that.
Still needs a second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a second.
Give it
All
to
right.
Tom.
Now,
The other Tom.
now do you want to have any further discussion?
I do.
Oh,
So just for the record, so that is your recommendation to the.
But that's,
Select-
yes, to let them build on it. That was
Okay.
my point
Just
there.
want to clarify that.
Yep.
That's all.
okay.
Because
The only worry is protecting yourself.
Yeah, we just figure out who owns what. Gotcha. I appreciate it.
All right.
you get that long truck up there, all right? I noticed you were parking space and a half to fit that thing in.
missed some part of the paper, but yeah, I wanna run six
So-
times.
so We're not done yet.
Okay, oh, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay.
Now you're done.
Now you're good.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
All right, yeah, we get a public session now. So we are, the next one was case P 04-21, which we continued to the next meeting. Correspondence for the board's information. This is the memo from Jessica.
Yep, so it's just basically just letting you know that I talked to John. John's trying to square things away with him right now, and that's pretty much where it's at. So he's addressing it.
Okay, so so this has gone 2 months without any response?
So. Yes, that was back in October. So my original letter to him was in August due to an inquiry. Then I realized that he didn't have a site plan approval, so I sent him a letter. 2 months went by. I brought it back to the board and said, hey, what would you like to do?
You said
And he said, have John follow up and give him a 30-day time frame. So John is working on that at the moment. Just a follow up, just to let you know.
Okay, so I don't want to be inconsistent. And at some point, I think John needs to put his foot down on this. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I know we certainly, don't want to keep shutting gravel pits down, but for God's sakes, it can't keep functioning illegally. And
So I do want to share, there's been, I know I don't want to spread rumors, but there's been talk that he was interested in selling that property. But
Well,
I
don't
can't
confuse that with
confirm-
John Jedry. He's selling his too.
No, that's who I'm talking about.
Oh, John Jedry. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
I heard he has a
don't-
buyer.
I don't know for sure. It's just what I've been told for a couple just different people in town. So I don't know how that affects,
I think they're at the tape.
who comes
Yeah.
in, who comes in and gets approval for the contractor's yard? Mr. Jedry, or is it whoever purchases the land in the future? I don't know. So.
Well,
the interim.
Currently, it's
Money
Mr.
belongs
Jedry.
with it.
I mean, at this point, you have to go with
I
Mr. Jedry
agree.
because he's the owner of record.
And
I agree.
And it can be passed from one owner to the next?
Of course.
All right, I don't,
Runs with the property, not the person.
that's, I'm just checking.
So I guess he's clearly operating the pit in there, but he's also, it is operating also as a contractor's yard.
Yeah.
So he-
It's only, he is
Yeah,
not,
there's no-
he is not doing any more excavations.
Any-
No more excavations.
No longer.
And he did that from the get-go. That's why I'm a little surprised to say he doesn't have approval for what he has, because we knew that back when we first started all these pit things, he clarified, I'm not digging anymore. And I thought that's why he went to the contractor yard at that point. But when you went back
Right.
and
I
looked,
just
So-
drove by it recently and it sure looked like he's digging.
no, he's not. No, he's trucking it in and then shipping it out. He has a pit in Ossipee. Every yard of it comes down. He dumps it on the ground. They pick it up. They're processing it in Ossipee now.
He's doing it in Ossipee.
All of it in Ossipee because it's not
I
as
hope
tough
so.
on his equipment to haul finished product versus raw product.
Oh, okay.
So,
So what's the consensus of the board?
So.
What consensus do we have available?
So we know the timing when John has sent a letter.
I am unsure. I have not seen a copy of any correspondence that he said.
Well, you'll see Mr. Jedry in here quickly.
I don't know.
Didn't you say that Mr. Gentry asked you to have John send him a 30-day thing? A notice or something?
No, we said that we should
We
send
wanted
him a
John to
30-day
step in.
notice, respond in.
John's the guy to do it.
Right.
Right. I just don't know at what point in time, has he already sent a letter to Mr. Jedry? Or is he going to send a letter to Mr. Jedry? That I'm unsure of. I have not seen one yet. So I don't know when or if the 30-day time frame has already begun.
I'm just really surprised that he hasn't got the proper approvals. I'm just,
So we had, you notified John on October 19th that we had
Yes,
requested that he do this.
Correct.
So it's been 30 days since we made the request of John. We just don't know.
we don't count. John counts.
Right. We don't know when the clock started with John. It's just-
Well, we don't.
Ain't got the power.
But I guess the message I'd like to pass along is if John has not sent this letter, I'd like it to go out this week.
okay.
Maybe we ought to be calling one Mr. Jedry and the other one John, so we're not getting John and John.
Mr. Dever and yes. You're right. I want John to send John a letter. Was that good?
Perfect.
All right.
Already.
Dear John, yeah. Dear John letter.
All right. And then the other one was the email dated November 11th. This is regarding the religious facilities.
Yep.
I kind of appreciate what that individual is doing. I'm not I don't know if you guys got a chance to read this, but boy, I tell you what, his number 2 is like right around the law. You know, I mean, it still encapsulates the law, but it is just so vague and so open.
Yeah, it says no zoning will.
Couldn't trump it.
Yeah, shall
You can
impose
build
a
a church anywhere
substantial
you
burden.
want.
Right,
You know,
right.
Basically, zoning laws don't, it's pretty broad.
Well, that's why, and I hate to keep bouncing back to this, the adult entertainment ordinance that we have, that was exact, I hate to put it next to the church. But it was the same basic idea. If we did not schedule a place for it, it could go anywhere.
And that happened in Guilford.
Yeah, King's Grant.
Yeah.
So
So
this House Bill 1021 is a state, they passed that.
we deleted it to the recreational service area.
But there was
Which
some
could be
ambiguity in their language, and somebody else felt that there was something that was missing. Is that what there was another sentence which was
As
necessary to get
discussed in the
sponsorship
webinar,
added or something like that. So
the law is passed unclear, and we have seen substantial interest in our membership in clarifying what it is and what it is not allowed. This rewrite accomplishes the following.
So I think that there's change coming to it. So I think it was proper that we did not
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because
take any action.
just get egg on our face and have to fix it.
Yeah. We always have to resort back to whatever the RSA is. So. All right, so.
And like our basic definition of religion is based on the tax relief on property. It has to be for religious purposes.
Well, yeah, but it also has to be a place of assembly, used primarily as a place of assembly for more than 50% of the time, or I can't remember what the exact wording was, but so it was.
Originally, the whole campground
Right.
was granted, and then they saved it just for the tabernacle and
In the church administration building and the church structures themselves, because they had the whole property tax exempt.
Yeah.
And that was what, back around 1970-ish, in the 70s?
yeah, oh, God,
Right.
first lady, town administrator that we had,
Pam Andrade.
Pam, yeah, she was the one who was involved in this. So that's mid-70s, I'd say.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have any other business come before the board?
I do.
Oh,
No, I'm just happy to report that I've received 2 applications for the planning and zoning assistant, and interviews will be set up shortly.
that's really good.
Looking,
news for
looking,
you.
are they looking,
It's been like 2 months.
anything?
Yes, so one has zoning and building experience. And then the other one has zoning and planning experience. So
Wow,
either one seemed to be pretty good prospects. I'm very excited.
but it's only been 2 months, right?
It seems like
Yeah.
10, doesn't it?
Just feels like a year.
Not to
Okay,
pull- Not to pull a Band-Aid off, but what's happening with Green Oaks?
oh, no,
Can't
that's a
discuss that
Band-Aid.
right now. That's it.
That's
That's
not
it.
on the agenda, so we can't discuss that.
Nope.
So we did that public input, hearing none, motion
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman?
by Scott, seconded by
Roger.
Tom. I can give you credit for that.
All
one.
right, good. And we forgot to mention.
Got activated. I want to have.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm older than all of you.
My knee is
You guys
chocolate
moving
bad.
around like a